Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to our channel. The date is Sunday, the 24th of May, 2025. We are on our 238th Tafseer session. The format will be Tafseer, followed by question and answers, and then we will kick over to private non-broadcast for our Palestine update, which will be our 108th Palestine update. That will be available live on the Zoom and later uploaded to our Rumble channel, which you can subscribe to. The link is in the description of this video. So if you subscribe to this channel and all others, you should not miss out, inshallah. And if you join on the Zoom, you probably get the best benefit because it's real time. And also, when it comes to our question and answers, it's always beneficial if you discuss with us directly so we can get a proper dialogue going, and rather than questions that are half answered. And we would politely request, if you are bringing any narrations that you want discussed, try to bring references and tell us the chain of narrations, or at least send a link so we can at least discuss the mention the chains of relation. Change the narrations of the professor can scrutinize them, inshallah. Okay, so we are on Surah Al-Ankabut, and we are on the first ayah of Ankabut. I will recite the ayah and then give a translation, and the professor will comment. So bear with me a second. So first ayah is Alif Lam Mim. Next ayah, حسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون.
Okay, that's the next ayah also.
ولقد فتنا الذين من قبلهم فلا يعلمن الله الذين صدقوا ولا يعلمن الكاذبين. Shall I continue?
What's the next ayah?
أم حسب الذين يعملون السيئات أن يسبقونا ساء ما يحكمون.
Okay, the last one is starting some new context. So the first three ayahs, Alif Lam Mim.
Alif Lam Mim, straightforward. That's the one there.
So translation is straightforward. Okay, I read the three. Alif Lam Mim is not an ayah really. This is the Hafs count. The correct count would be Duri and Qalun and so on, but that's not the issue now. It doesn't matter if it's an ayah or just a word ahead of an ayah.
Okay, so the first, after Alif Lam Mim, do men think that on their mere saying we have attained to faith, they will be left to themselves and will not be put to a test? Next translation. Do people think that they will be left to say, we believe, without being tested? Next ayah. Yea, indeed, we did test those who lived before them, and so too shall be tested the people now living. And most certainly will God mark out those who prove themselves true, and most certainly will he mark out those who are lying. Next translation. We did test those before them, and Allah will certainly know those who are true from those who are false.
Okay, so the second translation is the first one. Muhammad Asad is very cautious. He doesn't translate يعلمنا. Allah will certainly know يعلمنا. It's in a certain form of ilm. He translates the mark, make apparent, become publicly known, somehow to escape the problem of the divine pre-knowledge. The same old disease of the issue of the divine foreknowledge, etc. So that's one of the evidences against the fatalist and so on. So it says, would the people think that they will just left alone saying we have believed without being tested so that they can prove their belief or not? They will be indeed tested so that Allah will come to know, because in the future he will know with certainty, which means now it is not known. This is obviously shocking for those who think that the divine knowledge entails also divine foreknowledge, and which is a fallacy, as a matter of fact, which is definitely a fallacy proven by the Quran in various places. We discussed that, for example, we discussed when Musa was sent to Pharaoh and all these things. We touched on that. Let's touch it on again because it's a very fundamental issue. So, second translation. Muhammad Asad was hesitant in the first one. I don't think he was a fatalist, but he did not want to be at loggerhead with the so-called majority. But the ayah is clear, لا يعلمن. That's ilm, and لا يعلمن للتأكيد. And certainly Allah will know who is the truthful one and who. How this will become apparent also will be marked, but also known with certitude, become known to certitude to anybody. Now, the ayah says here, Allah will know with certitude, meaning it is not known now who is really the truthful, and so that will become out by the testing. Even the one who are being tested may not know, may not yet know how sincere and how really believing they are. They may fooling themselves. They may think they are true believer. They are not. They do not establish belief on evidence or a real conviction based on evidence. It doesn't need to be a complicated mathematical level evidence or philosophical evidence. It could be just natural evidence, which some people have the ability to absorb immediately and come to absolute conviction, exactly as if they have a mathematical theorem in front of them. So this does not mean that you have to be philosophical or graduate from the Athene Academy of Philosophy or something. No. Even a Bedouin can achieve this certitude by just simply looking at the universe, see his own limitation and restriction, and the necessity of overwhelming absolute existence. That's enough. That's it. Simple. Summarizing volumes, tens of pages at least, or possibly volumes of philosophical discussion over several millennia. So that is to be expected, because if there is a genuinely a free will, and genuinely then a will not be free if we know it is the human will, but the fundamental problem is the divine knowledge and the divine will. But let us see, let's go to the divine side of the matter. If the future is known before Allah decided to create anything yet, meaning he is not a free agent, because if he knows what is going to happen exactly, then there is no choice, because his knowledge can contradict his action. But he's a free agent, because the free agent that he's a free agent is what's exactly the difference between that we're dealing with an existing being, which is allegedly a blind, deaf nature, which does not know what's going on and acts by necessity. But this can be proven by mathematical level arguments to be an internally contradictory. It's not possible. It has to be a free will, which looks like absolutely spontaneous, unlimited capability of making a decision and deciding what to choose. So a universe has to be chosen. Its system of the universe that must be present in the present knowledge in eternity, and that first choice must be completely free. At that moment, at the moment of that free choice, that in eternity, the future is still open. The moment choice is made, the future becomes to be structured, but not fixed completely, because the universe which has been chosen, evidently the one we are living in it, is having certain indeterminism and have the potential to bring forward being who have a free will. It's a limited free will, yes. It's within a circle, like Sheikh Taqi says, a circle. You have freedom in your circle, but you cannot get out of the circle. Is a limited one, but inside the circle, you have a free choice. And this is not only dictated by necessity, so it is the most important thing is that the divine freedom is the most fundamental one, not the human freedom or the created being freedom. That can be negotiable. Someone could deny, oh, we are not free. We just think we are free, we are fooled. It's a false argument, obviously. Can be proven to be false by the revelation with a conclusive proof. Without revelation, it goes back to a blind, deaf nature, and then you get to the contradiction. So, but the most important is the divine himself must be absolutely free, has absolute freedom of choice. And this spontaneity, the first choice, is enshrining this absolute freedom. That's the only way to explain that something came to existence immediately when eternity finished. That's obviously a very difficult, deep philosophical discussion. But the revelation did not refer us to these deep philosophical discussion, gave us examples in the Quran, clear examples which settles the matter conclusively. One of them is this ayah. But more importantly, is we mentioned various ayah. One of them It's true that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although necessarily existing, eternal, absolute, still his power extend to the possibility of even suspending his own judgment for the future. Like, for example, we mentioned the ayah of Tawbah about the three who have been left behind, and then they came and admitted their mistake to the Messenger of Allah, and they was in a state of suspense. وَالثَّلَاثَ الَّذِينَ خُلِفُوا, etc. What will be the decision? The decision is postponed. إما they are postponed to وآخرون, others مرجون لأمر الله, postponed to the decision of Allah. إما يتوب عليهم وإما يعذبهم. So there is two options still open, but the decision is postponed. إرجاء, meaning in the future, not now. There's no way to interpret that otherwise. And the Mufassirin usually, when they come to that ayah, for all tafsir except Qurtubi, they beat around the bush, say this is the three which were suspended and so on, and mention the story and bring the narration. Don't mention the issue of being postponed and the decision came later. They don't mention that issue. Only Qurtubi dare to see the problem, and they say, this is actually postponed from our point of view, but from Allah's point of view, it's already decided before, because he's Jabari, he's Ash'ari. He believes this is all known in eternity back. And if it's known eternity back, there's nothing to postpone. It's already done. Otherwise, his knowledge become wrong. It's contradiction. So that's not possible. But he said that's from human point of view. From another point of view, somehow from an imaginary point of view, it is not so. Now explain how can this be? If Allah says about himself, postpone, they are postponed to the decision of Allah himself. Allah says about his own decision is being postponed. Either he will punish them or he forgive them. So this is a clear lie if the decision is already known and the decision already made. Yeah, you see the point. So the contradiction is very clear. Assuming that future events which are depending upon the free will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, and then the free will of creation within the free will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that creation is in the eternal, is a finite circle. His free will is an infinitely wide, unlimited. So that's one. That's a striking evidence you cannot throw it away. Another one is when we mentioned when Allah addressed Musa and Harun. اذهب إلى فرعون. That's obviously there was a discussion first with Musa in Mount Sinai, and then Harun was joined. He asked Harun to be his supporter. Obviously, he continued moving according to the Old Testament. Most likely, the story is logical, no problem. He continued going toward Aqaba, current Ilat Aqaba, and he already wrote to Harun that he's coming and asked Harun to come to meet him midway already when we left Madian, without knowing that he will be surprised with this revelation and so on. Now he proceeded there, obviously happy and elated that he has a great surprise for Harun. And he reached and meet with, according to the Old Testament, somewhere maybe near Aqaba or a little bit inside the so-called Sina, the current Sina, which is a wrong name, but we'll discuss that many times. Meet him there and tell him what he experienced in Mount Sinai, the real Mount Sinai, that's the deep in Arabia, near Madian. And that he's appointed to be his, maybe Harun received the revelation about that. Without Allah talking to him, maybe an angel came to him, because he's a prophet, khalaf. He received divine communication. I said, okay, well, we already instructed or something. We don't know. I don't know. I don't remember the Old Testament which one it went, but it doesn't matter. And then both now supplicate, preparing themselves, terrified about this huge mission. And knowing they're going to the biggest tyrant on earth for the biggest empire in history. That time, Egypt was in the peak of its power from beginning of times, when this country formed as one kingdom. For that, it was two kingdoms, north and south, and before that, it was just scattered villages 10,000 years ago. Then maybe 4,000 years before Christ, they started crystallizing in maybe two kingdoms, and then three and a faction. One king unified the country and has the double crown, the crown of the north and the south. That's the reason the crown is two double crowns for the Egyptian pharaohs, kings. They were kings called kings area. And then time progressed, there was up and down, but they reached the peak of their power and the peak of their extension and influence in the area and in the rest of the world. The world were loosely connected at that time, obviously, was having more power than Mesopotamia, than India, than China, and so on. And this is the head who believed himself to be a divine, big tyrant. So they were terrified. And they say, we are afraid if we open that to himself. So Allah gave him the following instruction. Go to Fir'aun, no, don't worry. فقولوا له قولا لينا لعله يذكر أو يخشى. So speak to him softly at the beginning and gently. He may remember and may be guided. They said, Lord, we are afraid that he will just, he will not listen. He will immediately attack. Say, don't worry. I am with you watching, and I'll give you an authority that he will be unable to touch you. The special authority for Musa and Harun. Other prophets did not have. They were got killed and so on. We know that. Aywa. So that's what has happened there. So speak to him gently so that he may remember, he may be guided, he may choose the way of guidance, become soft-hearted. It's the possibility. So at that moment, the possibility is still there, and the two ways are open for Pharaoh. Unless Allah is misleading Musa and Harun and sending to a mission he knows it will fail by necessity, that's impossible. That's a deception. Allah is above all deceptions and lying. Yes, he deceived those who try to deceive him or deceive the believer as a punishment, but not initiating deception like that. His own prophet sending him to a mission. He knows already it's impossible. So this is impossible to construct in any sound mind. So at that moment, it was not decided yet what way Pharaoh, because the decision is depending upon what he will do. And there was a hope that he may do the right thing, may not. We don't know. We will see how things develop. So the future is fundamentally open. And this is one of these evidences the same way. So if the people think that they will not be tested, they think they have embraced faith, and they think they will not be tested, they are wrong. They will be tested. Why? So that it comes apparent, but Allah come to know with certainty who is a true believer or not, and also not those who embrace faith as like protest against their family, because there were a few people in Mecca in a certain phase. There will be some young people who are at odds with their parents, like the hippies, like a hippie movements, because Mecca was affluent, it accumulated wealth over a long time. Several centuries before Islam, there was a ruling and rich class who are really essentially the bankers of Arabia, including Al-Abbas, for example, the uncle of the Prophet was one of these bankers. Abu Sufyan ibn Harb, the famous father of Muawiya, major criminal of Quraysh, etc. They were, so the society was well established with a rich class and so on. In such a situation, when life is well established and there's an affluent class and the middle class and slaves and so on, and maybe there was no working class of grades because they were all business people, so more like middle or lower middle class, a complicated structure, but a civil type. Then you tend, when especially a new message come or a shock come from outside or from inside by a revelation or something, there will be some young people who become like hippie. They rebel against the authorities. And they embrace the new way, the hippie way. But most of you were not adults at the time of the 70s. But when the sex revolution, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones came, and then after that there was like a rebellion in the young people, and make love, don't make war, and all these things. And then we have the hippies who, in their young years, went to Afghanistan, experiencing drugs, and some of them even joined some Sufi movements. Some became Krishna. I remember the Krishna movement was here. I think Krishna continued even until the 90s. Maybe you should remember them and so on. Staying in the markets and using their drums and so on, dancing and so on, and talking about love and so on. And all of that was this. But this is not really true belief. This is just embracing the new as like a fashionable movement. All of these hippies of the 70s and 80s became part of the establishment later. They did not make really a revolution. Few remained hardcore, joined Green parties, Communist parties, and insisted until the end of their life to fight for that, obviously with little success or some success and so on, but the majority just merged back. So these are hippies. So Mecca has also its own hippies, and so embraced Islam. How do we know that something like that happened? Because when the issue with the Isra happened in the 10th year, the Prophet told Quraysh that he has a night journey to Bayt al-Maqdis and so on. They say, in one night, a journey it takes for us 20, 25 or 30 days, usually 30 because they are traveling slow with camels and so on for business. So from Mecca and so on, it takes a month at least, because from Medina, we know the Messenger of Allah needed about 20 days to get to Tabuk. And then from Mecca to Tabuk, to Medina, that's usually at best 9 days. So 29 days plus a piece, that's Tabuk is still short of Bayt al-Maqdis. So that must be over a month. Over a month, you put it in one night. And then many of these weak people, hippies, say, no, this is too much. We cannot believe in that. And they apostatized, for example. That's in the 10th year. And they told Abu Bakr, said, no, that's impossible. They said, your friend, your companion said that. Say, if he said it, it is true. But I don't think he said it. And then he came to Messenger of Allah, said, is it true? Say, yes, I did, and so on. So that's it. So there were many who embraced Islam there are hippies. Obviously, they are not. They must be hippies, hippie-like style, because the lower class and so on were oppressed and mistreated, and were either mistreated and imprisoned and so on, or escaped to Abyssinia, and they stayed there. So these who are easy to leave because of this shocking story must be from the upper class, which are just their parents will just leave the boy and the girl, especially most of it would be boys, leave them. They will come to their senses later when they get a taste for business and making money and so on, and what life demands and marriage and so on. They will wake up exactly like the hippies in the 70s. The older generation said, okay, this is just a fashion, it will go. And it mostly went. So that's exactly that. So there were many cases like that. So people think because Makkah, there were prosecution and so on, they were only true and sincere believer. It's not true. No, it's not true. There's some hippies there who, most of them just upon the first test, they left. And when the immigration came, immigration is a very difficult process, that you leave your possession, leave everything, and leave your own country just for going to an unknown future. That looks like a nightmare. So when the immigration came, many stayed back, said, no, that's too much. It's getting now out of hand. That's making our life upside down. That's the test for them, for example. So that's it. So that's needed, the testing, especially in the time of a messenger when he comes to the new message, especially the final messenger who is supposed to establish the final message for mankind, which will carry it to the rest of the world until the end of time. We need a solid core. But the issue here, that's obviously how history works and how revelation works. But the issue here is that this is clear evidence that the future, in that sense, is open. If until Allah decides something, then it's going to happen as He decided. How do you know that He decided? If He informs us, give us a news about that, or He promises something based on the condition, the winter condition is fulfilled, He's obliged Himself to deliver on the promise. This is going to happen. There's nothing, no power, even His own power, going to undermine that. But anything else is still open. That's the reason I said, for example, Yawm al-Qiyamah is definitely going to happen. But what is the time? It maybe it has been decided, maybe not. We have no news about that. And even there's a hint in the conversation with Musa, when he told him, the hour is coming with certitude. But when I almost hiding it from myself. The people said it is hidden from everyone, even it's obviously that's metaphorical. Allah couldn't possibly hide it from Himself. They didn't understand the rhetorical value, the allegorical meaning of akadu ukhfiha. Simply meaning it is not decided, the time is not decided yet, but it's inevitable to come. Later down the road, when all the conditions are right, a decision will be made that it will be happening on that moment, and so on, 100 years down the road to 5 years, next day, a millennium later, then. But we have no knowledge about that. Nobody informed about that. No prophet mentioned that whatsoever. All prophets deny, say we don't know when it's going to come. but it's coming inevitably. So maybe it's already decided. Maybe it's still not decided. We don't know. But definitely it's coming. So anyone telling you it's coming that date or that date is just speculating and based on some numerology and some nonsense. So that's it. So the future is essentially most of the future is open, especially action of entities who have free will and would be questioned for their deeds. That's open until they make the decision. Then after that, then the repercussions so on will be accounted for and so on. Otherwise, accounting will make no sense. But the most important thing is not that accounting or not accounting, or free will is really free or not free. This is free by the guarantee of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by these ayahs and so on, by a source outside the universe. So the one who is comprehensive in knowledge tell us you have really genuine free will. Yes, it's limited. It's within a circle, but within that circle, you have free will. With my permission. I permit you to choose whatever you choose. That's the formula which should be used. By my permission, otherwise you could not choose anything, but I permit you to choose whatever you choose. And I postpone any decision about you until you make your choice. That's what we see from these ayahs. That solves the problem of qada and clarify what is the meaning of qada. Qada is the fundamental choice at the founding of the universe. A universe has been chosen which support quantum indeterminacy and support, I think, quantum indeterminacy connected with free will of the creation also in a complicated way, but that's just only a hypothesis. It's irrelevant if it's true or not. That's maybe a hypothesis. And those indeterminacy will compound in such big macroscopic entities like the brain, because the interconnection and the complexity in such a way it reaches a certain level, then suddenly we have free will by design of the universe, by the laws of the universe. In a very complicated way, which until now, maybe the large language models and the artificial intelligence giving us some hint in that direction, but not yet fully in that sense. But a model, zero-level model. But independent of that, it is genuinely free will. Decision can be suspended. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very well capable to suspend his decision, waiting for certain events to happen. So the future is open, and the so-called divine foreknowledge is not as they think everything is known in advance, and which will create many other contradictions, which is completely nonsensical. Besides that, what they said, that Allah is not a free agent. And then we're going back to the deaf, blind nature. So if it is deaf, blind nature, so why assume that he knows anything? There's no difference between knowing everything and knowing nothing. Nothing depends upon that knowledge. Deaf, blind nature. Contradictory statement. It's impossible. So I don't want to indulge much more detail, but that's it. So don't fall in the trap of these. And many hadiths seem to be contradicting that. The majority are fabricated or mispronounced or not. Like, for example, the hadith in Bukhari. The famous hadith where you'll be created in the womb and so on, 40 days, 40 days, 40 days. That's clearly, in this formulation, is wrong. And you can see it clearly because it will be written allegedly there. If it is Shaqi or Sa'id, will be he happy or will be unhappy, meaning he will end as a believer or as a kafir. But you can glean out that there's a problem, is the claim that it will be, at that moment, it will be established if he is male or female, which is impossible. Male and female is already established the moment of fertilization, before it became a person and spirit blown in him. So he become enter in the record as a human being, and will be respected Yawm al-Qiyamah. The one before that will not be. It is a part of the mother body. It's like a dimple. It can be thrown away. No Yawm al-Qiyamah, unless it has been made a person by proving the spirit, and this is not by the fertilization, according to this hadith and the other hadith which go. But the other hadith correct that they make it 40, 41, 42, not 40, 41, 40 plus 41, no, 40 or 41 and 42. And the narrator messed up. But that's we can detect fabrication just from the text and the meaning of it. But there's another one which is a bit confusing for you because they don't understand it correctly. Maybe the wording has not been pronounced correctly, but as it stands, it's still okay. that they were, Ali ibn Abi Talib narrates that they were once in a graveyard, and but after he buried someone, he was picking some with a wood or something, a stick, pinching the ground and remaining silent, and then he lifted his say, every one of you, his place in the his seat in the hellfire and his seat in paradise is known. That's it. His place in his hellfire and his place in paradise, and not or, and is known. So they misunderstood that. They say, so why we are doing, what the purpose of our activities if it's already known? So they thought either this or this. That's what came in their mind. They did not analyze it properly. So he said, "I'malu," everyone will get the destination he desired by his own deed, and he read the ayah. فأما من أعطى واتقى، the سورة والليل إذا يغشى والنهار إذا جاء وما خلق الذكر إن سعيكم لشتى. فأما من أعطى واتقى وصدق بالحسنى فسنيسره لليسرى ومن بخل واستغنى وكذب بالحسنى. So read the ayah and you know that's based on your deeds. So the meaning is that two seats are already ordained and they will be improved. The other narration of Abu Hurairah I mentioned in a second, since I mentioned that Ali ibn Talib, so that is not fatalism, unless you misunderstand it and insist on misunderstanding, or drop something of the hadith, like another channels attributing similar story to Abu Darda, dropped important things that dropped the ayah and so on. So it became fatalism. The hadith of is the following, is in Bukhari. And in Bukhari, even the two versions, with wa and aw. Aw is obviously refuted by hadith itself, so it's wa. He says, that's explaining the ayah, تلك الجنة أورثتموها بما كنتم تعملون. Explanation, what's meaning that you inherit a Jannah. And say the Messenger of Allah explained that everyone is having a house, when he makes good deed, his house in Jannah is improved and enlarged. And when he makes bad deeds, his house in the hellfire is improved and enlarged. And this process continues. Both houses are being improved. So you have now houses building here and here. Be alert. Don't think you can get away. One of them is fixed. No. You can't improve on that until the moment of death. When someone dies as a believer, so in the balance, he's a believer, his house in the hellfire is demolished. It cannot be given to anybody else. Cannot be given to anybody else. Because it will be unjust. Nobody else to getting the deeds of someone else and the blame for someone else. But if someone dies as a kafir, ayadan billah, then the house which was built for him in Jannah with good deeds, there are many good deeds made by kafir all his life, but he did not seal it to seal the house for himself and close the house in hellfire. The house is there. It will be a waste to demolish it. People of Jannah will be inherited according to a way and the system Allah has devised. So nothing in Jannah will be wasted. So everyone who come in the age of responsibility, or even before that, in the moment of the spirit is blowing him, is obviously accumulating. We could say maybe until the age of responsibility is only good deeds accumulated. There's no house in hellfire yet. From there, then the other one is established and it's accumulated. He dies as a kafir, Allah forbid, ayadan billah. Then that place so for all of these are places in paradise being reserved and being built and improved, disproved, etc. At the end of time, is he coming to receive it? No, he ended kafir, ayadan billah. He committed ridda, he committed something, he was devastating everything, sealing his destiny for good. But there's a house, there's a place allocated in paradise by design of the Jannah and design of the universe. So go to West, no, the people of Jannah will inherit that. In a formula, Allah knows how it works. So there's the hadith of Abu Hurairah is also in Bukhari. That clarifies the hadith of Ali ibn Abi Talib and proves that the hadith with the 40 plus 40, Sadiq al-Masduq, the hadith from Abi Wa'il and Al-A'mash an Abi Wa'il and Zayd ibn Wahab and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, there's some fault there. Someone committed a blunder, most likely Abu Wa'il. We are not discussing that now. We'll discuss it in the appendix to our book about Qada and Qadar when it comes out, inshallah. We discuss all the ayahs and the hadith, the proper hadith, and then the faulty hadith and where the fault has come, and who is responsible for the fault. So everything sits correctly now. No confusion, no problem. Unfortunately, the classics did not do the job properly. You saw Al-Bayhaqi, for example, his book Al-Qadar al-Qadar is have a mixed match of a hadith going east, going west, nothing well defined, complete confusion. He make no final decision. He just hold his judgment and leave it for you. Although he's ultimately, I think, is Ash'ari, so he will be mostly believing in the divine foreknowledge, but in that wrong sense, everything is known in advance, which is, as I said, impossible, contradicts the divine freedom, which is fundamental, more fundamental. Look at the Quran. فعال لما يريد يخلق ما شاء ويختار. All the Quran is full hundreds of times. بكل شيء عليم, yes, but the future events which have not been decided are not shay. They are nothing. They are impossible to know. The impossibility. That point, philosophical and logical point, was not clear in their mind. And also they neglected going really through the Quran and consulting the Quran properly. Instead, they went in some kind of philosophical speculation, plus some faulty hadith, and then when something in the Quran comes which does not look like that, like this ayah, لَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ, Allah will know, they say, oh no, it's actually not يعلم. Make his knowledge apparent. Like Muhammad alayhi lifted the white flag. Although everywhere he's not a fatalist. But here he said, no, safer, I translate, will make known. Ma. Instead of say, Allah will know, he said, Allah will certainly know, like the second translator, he said, Allah will mark those who are truthful and those who are liars. It's not mark. It's really knowledge. It's ilm husuli. It's acquired knowledge based on the decision of these guys and how they behave after testing, which will bring the real level of belief and so on. Okay. Good.
Okay, next ayah.
Okay, next ayah. أم حسب الذين اجترحوا
أم حسب الذين يعملون
يعملون
السيئات أن يسبقونا ساء ما يحكمون. Or do they think they will do evil deeds, and in brackets, while claiming to have attained to faith, that they can escape us? Bad indeed is their judgment. Next translation. Or do those who do bad deeds think they can escape us? That is bad judgment on their part.
Yeah, clear, yeah.
Next
That they can't us, that they can fool us. No, nobody can fool us. And that their real situation of the heart will be exposed by testing, inevitably. And testing does not need to be really a real calamity. It can be just a usual life. Just a simple event coming could really expose someone that he is just believer by name, not really. And this will appear clearly. His nifaq, that the iman did not enter his heart, is just a name, just a belonging, just a cultural. That's to say, I am a cultural. Like, for example, was his name Dorking? This atheist, they say, okay, I don't believe in all these religions, but Western civilization is closer to me because it reflects Christian culture. So now he became a Christian by culture, without being Christian by belief. Okay, so that all will become known by the person's behavior and so on. For certainly, there will be moments coming which shows that clearly. Yeah. Next.
من كان يرجو لقاء الله فإن أجل الله لآت وهو السميع العليم. Whoever looks forward with hope and awe to meeting God on resurrection day, let him be ready for it. That's in brackets. For behold, the end set by God for everyone's life is bound to come, and he alone is all-hearing, all-knowing. Next translation. As for those who look forward to meeting God, God's appointed time is coming. He is the all-hearing, the all-knowing.
Just enforcing that. You are hopeful for meeting Allah for resurrection. It is inevitably coming, because believing in resurrection, hope that it will happen, is a hope only, because there's no necessity of dictating there will be resurrection. Only the divine promise to reward the good deeds and punish for the bad deeds. That's the only thing is there, and the guarantee that it's going to happen in the next life. That's the only thing which we have. There's no necessary reason dictated that it must be happen like that or not. And this is not a setting, it's going to happen. You can rely on that. It's not only a hope, it's you can rely, trust that with absolute certainty. Allah is all hearing and all seeing. Next.
Next ayah. ومن جاهد فإنما يجاهد لنفسه إن الله لغني عن العالمين. Hence, whoever strives hard in God's cause does so only for his own good. For verily, God does not stand in need of anything in all the worlds. Next translation, and whoever strives hard strives only to benefit himself, for God is rich beyond any needs of the world.
Yeah, exactly. So all your struggle is for your own self. Don't think you are benefiting God or harming him by struggling or not struggling. That's not. It's for your own self. Why? Because the universe has been designed to be a testing universe, and your struggle will be in your favor, or the lack of struggle and negligence will be in your disfavor. That's the original decision made, and that's it. This cannot be undone. This is done, finished, over. No is going to change. Finished, over for all eternity. That's the qadar. That's a believing in qadar. What has already happened could not have been otherwise, because it's happened and will already be decided, and Allah's decision cannot be reversed. Or stated in the language of mathematics and physics, time cannot be reversed, genuinely reversed. So any physical theory in which the time is reversal, like for example relativity, as it stands now, must be false. That has certain fallacy. It has to be corrected. It's an approximation, local approximation. Cannot be for the whole universal time. It's impossible. That's the reason when one of the solutions of the Einstein general equation of gravitation, which is obviously an equation of manifolds, because it's related to the metric, a metric of a manifold, and there are many, and there's even someone collected all known solutions and so on, and classified them. I think Petrov, a Russian mathematician, and it's called it's called Einstein spaces. The book exists since the 50s and 60s. Einstein spaces, the various manifolds. One which was found by the famous mathematician Gödel. One was found that there's a rotating universe solution, an empty universe but rotating, and where time has closed time loops, so time goes back in itself. So some student asked him, "Sir, Herr Professor, but this means someone in principle could go back in the past, kill his grandfathers. So he cannot exist. How is that possible?" So the narrator claims that God smiled mischievously and say, "Won't happen. God will step in and prevent that from happening." The correct answer would be say, this show you that this definition, this definition of gravitation as really the metric of space-time is wrong. It's a good approximation locally for short times. Short times mean thousands and millions of years, no, maybe billions, but not for all time from eternity all the way. No, it can't be. That's we have to find a better one, and possibly even exclude time and do something similar to quantum mechanics, but get relativity in another way, in a proper way. Is until now it's not really settled properly, because people are still working with classical relativity. And in that, correct theory will not have closed time loops. It's impossible. Time would be only advancing. It will not be part of space-time. It will be space continuum and time at its own continuum, but of a unique type, which is only progressing and never goes back. How to get that mathematically is quite difficult, but it's possible. It's possible. It must be possible. So that's an interesting point. So this is the qadar. This is time cannot go back. What has happened, خلاص انتهى, is gone for all eternities. Is known, fixed, unchangeable. You can learn from it and try to affect the future differently, yes, but affecting the future, you're not going to go back. There's no going back. Absolutely going back. That's a qadar. تعلم أن ما أصابك لم يكن ليخطئك وما أخطأك لم يكن. What has befallen you in the past could not have missed you because it happened according to the condition at that time with Allah's permission. Finished, gone. Does not prevent you from studying and see which mistake I made, which can maybe in a similar situation in the future I will learn from it. That's the Quran show clearly in the case of Uhud, contradicting. Some people will say, oh, you should not say study the past and so on because it will be objecting to Qadr. No, this is a mistake. And the hadith of the Prophet, what hadith says in full, it's usually misunderstood, is the following. It says, be keen to achieve what you want and do everything possible to achieve it, meaning plan well, study well, do everything well. احرص على ما ينفعك واستعن بالله and rely on it. Don't surrender to inability, to weakness. But if after all of that, something before you, that don't indulge in lamentation. لو كان كذا لكان, if maybe the American did not attack this country, I would have my business would have gone sour. That's not under your control and so on. That will not benefit you, because this will open the door of the devil. The devil say, "Oh, Allah did that to you. Allah is unjust to you. Allah did not make the condition right for you." That's what the devil tried. It's different than studying. It was the story of Uhud clearly says, because in Uhud they said, "How come that we suffer this calamity? We are promised victory." So, oh yeah, promise was fulfilled, and angelic support came until you disobeyed your commander and disputed between under yourself. Then the divine support was taken away from you, and you were tested. That's the reason for the calamity. Divine promise was fulfilled at the beginning, and the enemy was running away in panic. But you failed to continue the job as instructed. You left the mountain. You disobeyed your commander. The commander got killed by the horses of Quraysh. Khalid ibn Walid attacked from the back, and you got killed. Some of you got killed also, and you were tested. So from yourself is the problem. You did not do the right thing. So you study these things to see, maybe I didn't do the right thing. And for that purpose, and the future I learn from that. That's great. That's good. That's not a hadith. Low, don't say if it were so and so on, open the door of the devil. That's not the meaning here, because the meaning of that full hadith says, do the best you can and rely on Allah and don't be a failure. But if it's after all of that doesn't happen, then don't start lamentation. You may still study. Maybe I didn't know everything. Maybe I missed something. Let me study what I may have missed. That's okay. The same like the people of Uhud. They thought they have done everything. No. To have complete victory, you have to obey the commander. You have to follow the tactics of the war as designed by the messenger up till to the end. And the messenger said clearly, don't leave the top of the mountain. Even if you see we have been cut in pieces and the bears are eating us, don't come down until I order you to come down. Then you come down. You did not apply that. So you suffered. Okay, next ayah.
Just want to check with you. Did I do وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ? Okay, I've lost track, that's all. Okay, so next I'm assuming this is the next one. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَنُكَفِّرَنَّ عَنْهُمْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ أَحْسَنَ الَّذِي كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. And as for those who attain to faith and do righteous deeds, we shall most certainly efface their previous bad deeds and shall most certainly reward them in accordance with with the best that they ever did. Next translation. As for those who believe and do good deeds, we will remove their bad deeds and will reward them according to the best of what they have done.
The second one is also better because the first one say we will forgive the previous bad deeds, not only the previous, but also concurrent bad deeds, but a smaller one. So if someone does good deeds and so on, the minor sins, the minor mistakes, which almost nobody is free from them. they will be. But the main life is belief, based on firm belief and doing good deeds. There will be minor mistakes. There will be, for example, nobody can be free all his life, even until death, from sometimes being showing a nasty face to a brother unjustifiably, now, for example, or having a wrong look to a woman. That happens. Does not undermine that you are a believer with good deeds, or these weaknesses are there. Minor sins, but no major sins, because those major sins will undermine, could undermine Iman and good deeds. How do we know that? As we know from the other ayah which clarifies. So you see the Quran, you have to not take one ayah and leave the others. Go to the other ayah in Surah An-Nisa, which it says, Allah promises to say, in tajtanibu kaba'ira ma tunhawna an. He's addressing the believer. If you avoid the kaba'ir, the major sins, the devastating sins, we will forgive the minor sins. Sayyatikum, sayyah, the kaba'ir more. What is remaining only to establish what are the kaba'ir. That may be an issue, but we know quite a number of them. We know for sure what they are. No, but the others were controversial, are they or they're not? But at least the main ones are more than sufficient. You just avoid these. If you can avoid them coming to your life, then you are flying in heaven anyway. Then the small sins, a wrong look to a woman, coveting the neighbor's wife one time, forget about that. Being jealous of someone who have wealth and say, wishing that him evil for that. No, na'udhu billah. I should not wish him evil. I should wish that I should have similar wealth, but not that his wealth disappear, just out of envy and bad feelings and so on. All of these happen, but happen in spotty, not persistent. If, for example, hasad, envy is persistent, that everyone who is doing well, you feel hatred from you, he will, that means your heart is full of hasad. You have a dark heart here. Your heart is not the heart of a believer. That's a catastrophic situation, and so on and so on and so on. Then what the Quran says, if you avoid the kaba'ir, we will forgive the sagha'ir, and we will enter you a noble entry. So this means you will enter the paradise without being punished before and mishandled before. Because if someone is punished before entering the paradise, go to hellfire, get burned and so on, that's not a noble entry. That's definitely an entry after Islam with the face is not an entry. Imagine you're going to a place or a gathering or a hotel, and at the gate someone says, welcome, and open the door, he spits in your face and slap you and then allow you to enter. That's not a noble entry. That's a dishonorable entry. It's an entry, it's a dishonorable entry. Okay. So has to understood with that. So Muhammad Asad again mentioned the previous dates, sayyat. He regards sayyat all of the same level. This seems to be because I don't know what's happened in his mind. Maybe his Jewish background, because he's originally a Jew. They're extreme in that thing, and this seems to be radiating in their own life. Allah A'lam. Or because he embraced Islam in Arabia under the Wahhabi doctrine, so he's infected with some Wahhabi extremism, possibly. But actually all sayyat, not only the previous one, the concurrent one, until death, but they should be minor. Okay, as clarified by Surah An-Nisa. Next ayah.
Next ayah. ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا وإن جاهدك لتشرك بي وإن جاهداك لتشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما إلي مرجعكم فأنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. Now, among the best of righteous deeds which, that's in brackets, we have enjoined upon man is goodness towards his parents. Yet even so, should they endeavor to make thee ascribe divinity side by side with me to something which thy mind cannot accept as divine, obey then not. For it is unto me that you all must return, whereupon I shall make you truly understand the right and the wrong of all that you are doing in life. Yeah. Next translation. We have commanded the human beings to honor his parents, but do not obey them if they try to make you serve anything besides me. of which you have no knowledge. For you will all return to me, and I will tell you about everything you have done.
Yeah. So the is actually not to honor. It's actually حسنا, to be charitable, to be nice, good, including honoring, including nice face, smiling, and so on. Because you could be, for example, stern and very bleak, but honoring and respecting and bowing and so on. That's not enough. It has to be with a nice face, with a smile, good treatment, charitable treatment. It doesn't mean necessarily obeying or disobeying in general things, but you'll not be charitable if, for example, your mother asks you, for example, to help her cooking, for example. For example, that's charity, and good treatment requires that you help as much as you can, etc. So that's not obeying, that's being charitable, not because they have the right to command you or the right to obedience, no, but that's being charitable. So it's more than just obedience in mundane things. But if they start commanding you to commit shirk, to associate partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then something which you have no knowledge, meaning it's impossible to be having partner, because having a partner Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is impossible. So something when the Quran says مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, that you don't have knowledge of, which means that, which is necessary, because a partner of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not exist, cannot exist. Whatever attribute to assure to it may exist as a person, but the attribution to him of this facility is wrong. So it cannot exist. So this is مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, not meaning that you may have it's possible or conceivable that you may know there is a partner of Allah. No, this is impossible. That's one of the things which many people make a mistake, say that you associate with Allah something which Allah did not make an authority, give authority to have such a rank. It is impossible for Allah to give authority to anyone to be a divine. It's not possible. Or reveal something which contradicts his divinity. So that's it. Something which is by necessity cannot have any authority from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he by necessity cannot have knowledge. You cannot have knowledge because it doesn't exist as such. So you have to read it this way. Then don't obey them in this. In this ayah said, don't obey this. And wait until Yawm al-Qiyamah, both of you will be here, and they will clarify to both of you, the parents and you, where they were wrong or where they are right. Don't worry about that. It will be clarified. If not here, then there. It doesn't say further. Another ayah, I don't know if it says surah, another surah, it says, فَلَا تُطِعْهُمْ, don't obey them, وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا, give them companionship in dunya in a reasonable way. Now they clearly specify you continue having a relation with them bil ma'ruf, in a reasonable way, not charitable way, but reasonable way. That means you don't become aggressive, you don't become abusive. No. That's not a reasonable way. But just to stop it, no, your deity does not exist. It's nonsensical. I'm not going to worship only Allah. I'm not going to accept the sovereign except Allah. That's it. Otherwise, I will give you good companionship. I will help you in old age. I'll support you financially if I can. And if you need support, all of these, this is reasonable companionship in dunya. صاحبون dunya ma'rufa, in a reasonable way. Ma'ruf is the reasonable way. The things which the people agree upon, it makes good sense. It entails the mubahat, the obligation, and all these things. It's not a good ground that your father is oppressive or commanding even kufr and so on, that when he gets an old age and needs help and financial support or something like that, that you deprive him, because this is not for you to punish him for that. Your obligation is to support him financially, for example. That's ma'ruf. Or mother and so on. That's clear. So that's it. There's the other ayah, not here, which clarifies that. He said, yes, don't obey them. Doesn't mention what to do else. But obviously, we said, yes, we commanded the human being to be charitable and good to their parents, meaning that continues, excluding the obedience to that. The other I clarify, maybe not that charitable, but at least ma'ruf, reasonable. which makes good sense. Clarify things more. Here, someone say, I should be charitable and everything, but this is obeying for shirk. No. You can reduce charity to a level of just reasonable. Okay.
Next ayah.
Next ayah.
والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لندخلنهم في الصالحين. But as for those who have attained to faith and have done righteous deeds, we shall most certainly cause them to join the righteous in the hereafter as well.
Yeah.
Next translation. Those who believe and do good deeds, we will admit them with the righteous into paradise.
Yeah, clear. Next ayah.
ومن الناس من يقول آمنا بالله فإذا أوذي في الله جعل فتنة الناس كعذاب الله ولئن جاء نصر من ربك ليقولن إنا كنا معكم أوليس الله بيعلم بما في صدور العالمين. Now there is among men many a one who says, and in brackets, of himself and of others like him, in close brackets, we do believe in God, but whenever he is made to suffer in God's cause, he thinks that persecution at the hands of man is as in brackets, much to be feared, or even more than God's chastisement. Whereas if succor from thy sustainer comes to all those who truly believe, he is sure to say, behold, we have always been with you. Is not God fully aware of what is in the hearts of all creatures?
So that's what the
translation?
level of iman, yeah. And
next translation, yeah. Some people say we believe in God, but when they suffer for God's sake, they equate the persecution of man with the punishment of God. But when help comes to you from God, they say we were always with you. Does God not know what is in everyone's heart?
So they try to fool the believer that we're with you and so on. We were with you, but we could not tolerate and things like that. They bring all kinds of excuses. For example, they may apostatize, although they could have endured. Obviously, there is a permission for, in the case of duress, a certain level, and as described in the Quran, another place. But anything less than that, obviously, is not allowed. And some people may be able to pretend and so on. But if they pretend and can fool other humans, they will not be able to fool Allah. Allah knows the state of affairs in everyone's heart. As most likely, this refers to what I mentioned, those hippies like that. The moment a test comes, or shocking news or something, then it is clear that the whole thing was just like a hobby, like a fashion, like a wave, no real firm belief. They're not ready to sacrifice at least some comfort and so on for it. With the exception, obviously, with the Quran clarifying the case of someone forced under torture and so on to pronounce kufr, while his heart is confident in Iman, that's permission is given. That was not clear for previous religion and generation, especially for early Christians. It was a problem. And the consensus seems to be in time past that apostasy is not allowed even under duress. And that's the reason early Christians were suffering. But in reality, many did apostatize under duress and then came back. And there was a long discussion what to do with them, admit them back in the community, not admit them, excommunicate them, and so on. But obviously in Islam, that's now clarified completely. That's because for Islam, there's no problem because there's no church who's admit you or excommunicate you anyway. It's between you and Allah, that's it. They come back and pronounce Shahada and I was forced, khalas. We take that what you said at face value. That's it. Simple. Obviously, when it looks like they were really a force. But for example, let us say someone of these rulers joined the kuffar in their fight against Muslims. And then later on try to jump lines. No, come on. You join them. We do not see that they seized your country or they occupied the country and forced you to do a thing. No, you go completely free. You have all sovereignty and still you join them like Muhammad bin Zayed and his criminals. For these, they cannot. They should not fool anybody. Later say, oh, no, we were under duress. We could not do otherwise. No. That's very clear. So we are at liberty to say, no, we don't believe you, we don't trust you. We continue cursing you. But it's unlikely that something like that happened with this kind of guys. Anyway, that's very obvious.
Okay, next ayah. وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ. Yea, and most certainly will God mark out those who have truly attained to faith, and most certainly will he mark out the hypocrites. Next translation, God will surely note the believers and will note the hypocrites.
Exactly. So that's again, mark or no. By the testing, it becomes known. Here, maybe Muhammad Asad has a good reason to say that, because he discussed before that Allah knows what in the hearts of the people. That's for the one who are definitely not good believer. At the moment, they accepted fitna and they set back. But by accepting fitna, sitting back, it was exposed. So that's again justification why they will be testing. So it's connected to the first ayah. So the testing and so on, all of it is designed to expose to others, but also to establish the reality of the people. Without testing at all, if the enemies have no testing, there's no way it can be established and no way to become known. But the testing will bring it to known, and also will bring the correct decision after testing. So it's a bit more complicated than just simple-minded yes, no, and so on. It's a more complex. Next ayah.
وقال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا اتبعوا سبيلنا ولا نحمل خطاياكم وما هم بحاملين من خطاياهم من شيء إنهم لكاذبون. And he is aware too that, in brackets, they who are bent on denying the truth speak thus, as it were, to those who have attained to faith. Follow our way of life, and we shall indeed take your sins upon ourselves. But never could they take upon themselves aught of the sins of those whom they would mislead. Yeah. Behold, they are indeed liars. They are liars indeed. Next translation. The unbelievers said to the believers, follow our way, and we will bear your sins. But they will not bear any of their sins. They are liars.
Yeah, so say, just our way of life is a perfect one. If you think it's sinful, some of it is sinful, no problem. We will, even when we question Yawm al-Qiyamah for these secondary sins, but our way of life is fundamentally good, because nobody will tell you my way of life is rotten and bad, follow me, and they will carry all your sins. That's could not conceived by anybody except somebody in the mental institution, which is not worthy of addressing. But they say, oh, okay, our life have some sins. Maybe we allow drinking, we allow prostitution. So just accept it. No, this our way of life is good, basically fundamentally good, secularism and so on. So just follow that. And for these things, no problem. We'll carry it Yawm al-Qiyamah on your behalf. Okay, if you believe that they'll be accounting for Yawm al-Qiyamah, and usually they claim it will be accounted for, oh, that's no problem. Since basically we are fine, or maybe Christ will carry it on our behalf, or something like that, or to carry the sin on our behalf, or be commuted, and by joining us, this will be also commuted. They will never be able to carry anybody's sin, number one, and they are definitely lying. That's not the truth. Even if they believe that, they're not telling the truth. So lying could be deliberate, someone lying deliberately, knowing from himself that he's a liar, or telling a fallacy, believing it's true, but it's not corresponding to the reality, so it's a lie. So when you say XYZ is a liar, does not mean necessarily that he's lying deliberately, and knowing that the truth is otherwise. He could think that's the truth. But still, we are at liberty in Arabic and other languages say he's a liar, because that's what he claimed to be the truth does not fit the reality of the thing. Okay, next ayah.
From the context, who's that addressed to? Because
possibly some Qurayshi. I don't know. Maybe some Christian. You never know. Mm-hmm. If someone says something like that, I mentioned it for seculars nowadays. Say, okay, stay Muslim as you are, do your good deeds, no problem. and just tolerate that there will be that our society allows these things and so on. Just allow that. Allow it. Not, you don't need to commit it. Allow it. And we'll carry, if you fall in it, we'll carry your sins, Yawm al-Qiyamah, or something like that. Or it doesn't have. It will be forgiven, or anything like that. They will have various variations of that. But it could be very possible in Quraysh, some people saying that clearly like that. You never know that. Various factions, various strange religions there. Quraysh has quite a number of Zanadiq dualists, like some of Christian dualists. It's difficult to call them this, like Marcion follower. They were Marcion follower in Persia. They were Disan follower. They were Mani follower. Mani is supposed to be believing in Christ. Yeah, so but he's a dualist and calling for terminating the world and no more marriage and so on. So the good soul can separate from the evil world and things like that. That's definitely so far away from Christianity, even bowling Christianity. That cannot be called Christianity. These are all Zanadiqa, dualist. Zandaqa meaning believing in light and darkness. Dualists. Good God, bad God. There's all these three and others. That's what called Zandaqa, which was in, that's not the Zoroastrian religion. They believe also in good God and bad God, but they have a formalized religion. These do not have a formalized church with the houses of fire. These do not have. They have communities, churches, but not really formalized the way the Zoroastrian, the Majus are organized. So usually the Majus are regarded, they are not under the type of Zanadiqa. Their creed is of type of Zandaqa. Of Zandaqa meaning light and dark. Yeah. So Quraysh had a share of that. Arab tribe, especially in the east, in the eastern Najd and near the Gulf, because of the Persian influence over the recent centuries and Persian being inside there, some of them embraced, became Majusi. Yeah, some from Tamim embraced Majusi, and because being Magus, being Majus is Zardishtian, it's allowed to marry for a man to marry his own sister or daughter. They were marrying their own daughters, some of them Arabs, and this was scandalous for the Arabs, and this was used by poets to attack them, things like that. For Islam already. Oh, they were already penetration of other religions, other unbelievable, funny ideas was ongoing. Minimal, yes, but was there. With more or less simple, not that complicated as sophisticated shirk, but there was shirk, but there was shirk also of the other classical type. Yeah. That's in Shirk al-Arab, in Tawheed, the section about the nature of Shirk al-Arab mentioned various types of that, including Lat being for the people of Taif. Lat is the consort of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah accepted about this nonsense. And she is from satanic or jinni origin, be offered for marriage just for reconciliation from Iblis to settle the wars with God. So that is, and it's an old Babylonic myth. That's what it. In Mecca is the same, but it's not a Lat, it's regarded as the consort. The consort is Al-Uzza. And the Lat and Manat are the daughters. In Taif, Lat is the wife, and Al-Uzza and Manat are daughters. So just switching the order a little bit. The Taif version is the Babylonic version, the original one. And the other in Mecca is just, Meccan have turned it around, so they have some kind of their own speciality. Distinction. Makki style. Makki style.
Okay, next ayah.
Yeah.
ولقد أرسلنا نوحا إلى قومه فلبث فيهم 1000 سنة إلا 50 عاما فأخذهم الطوفان وهم ظالمون. And indeed, in times long past, we sent forth Noah unto his people, and he dwelt among them 1,000 years, bar 50. And then the floods overwhelmed them while they were lost in evil doing. Next translation. We sent Noah to call his people to God. He remained among them 50 years, 1,000 years minus 50, and the flood seized them while they were unjust.
So he remained there. Obviously, the remaining here is maybe the time of message, not his age. He may be older than that. Maybe a few years. Maybe he was sent a messenger by 20, 30, 40. So he may have reached 1,000 years. And then after that, he stayed some time after escaping in the Ark of Noah and so on. So, but this is a miraculous situation. It's not like what the writer of the Old Testament thought. This is the normal situation of the time past that humans have 1,000 years and so on, which you find that's obviously the theory the people in the Old Testament have in their mind. And they have ages there, including one which is 1,500 years or 1,450 or something. It's Methuselah. I think this is all nonsense. And this had adopted many people. And there's even a hadith, I think, definitely is fabricated. I think from Abu Huraira that it's sneaked, I think, taken from people of the book and sneaked and attributed to the Prophet. But the attribution is definitely false. So something confused Abu Huraira in his mind that the ages were 1,000 years and became shorter and shorter and shorter. Or the Adam was 60 feet taller and then or 60 dhara taller and became shorter and shorter and shorter. And even Al-Hafiz commented on that saying, that doesn't sound right, because if that's true, then Ibrahim should be much taller than what we see in his coffin in his grave. His grave of Ibrahim al-Khalil is one of the most well-established graves in history. And say the length is that what we know is a tall man. Maybe the coffin is about 2 meters or something like that. But if the genealogy of the Old Testament is correct and the dates and so on, 6,000 years, etc., could not have reduced to 2 meters. It should have stayed like 30, 40 meters or something like that, or dhira. So then he expressed doubt, but he did not have the courage to say this hadith must be, I think he said, I'm not sure about that, has been attributed to Ramli. It's most likely one of Abu Huraira's lapse of mind. He was sitting almost constantly with Ka'b al-Ahbar. So there's all hadith which smell like they are from the Old Testament or similar to Old Testament, coming from Abu Huraira, can be attributed to the influence of Ka'b al-Ahbar, discussion of Abu Huraira. So things intervened in his mind, most likely. Yeah. So this is unique. This is a singularity. This is maybe that one of the miracles or the miracle of Noah. That generation after generation, one generation see this man standing there and warning, and then the next generation comes and their parents say this guy is troubling us from their grandfather's time, and they pass away and they send it to their children, and they keep track of generations, and the guy is still standing there, continuing his warning, unquote. For 1,000 years, that's 950 years. This 950 is interesting also, one of the numerical issues of the Quran. Because 950 is in 19 times 20. So again, the number 19, عليها 19, which we discussed, might have been one of the hints for certain miraculous numerical coincidences in the Quran. Next slide. Anyway, we're not going to discuss that now. That's another topic by itself.
That's we'll be uploading that at some point as well. That's one of the earlier Tafseers which are going to be uploaded soon.
The earlier halaqas, I think we discussed a little of that, some of that. A good portion. I think we did a good portion of that.
فأنجيناه وأصحاب السفينة وجعلناها آية للعالمين. But we saved him together with all who were in the ark, which we then set up as a symbol of our grace for all people to remember. Next translation. But we saved him and the ark's occupants, and we made it a sign for the worlds.
Yeah, that's clear. Next. And just people around all of them.
وإبراهيم إذ قال لقومه اعبدوا الله واتقوه ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. And Abraham too was inspired by us when he said unto his people, worship God and be conscious of him. This is the best for you if you but knew it. Next translation. And we sent Abraham, who called on his people, worship God and be always mindful of him. That is best for you if you should know.
Interesting. You see, the second one says we sent Abraham. The first one, what did the first one say? Read it again.
First translation says, and Abraham worship God and be conscious of him.
No, the beginning, from the beginning of the ayah. What?
Okay. And Abraham too, and that's in brackets, was inspired by us when he said unto his people, worship God and be conscious of him. This is the best for you.
I don't know where they get inspired by us. Because the previous ayah for Noah said, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا. We sent Noah to his people, etc. And he said, وَأَرْسَلْنَا. Here Ibrahim said, and remember what Ibrahim is called. Read it the Arabic again. Let's see what does it contain, any sending or any order to tell the people.
Just for clarify, the second translation says, and we sent Abraham.
Yeah, and the first one says, we revealed to him. Where is the ayah says, Ibrahim?
وإبراهيم إذ قال لقومه اعبدوا الله واتقوه
وإبراهيم just Ibrahim. Remember Ibrahim. It doesn't mean necessarily that أرسلنا إبراهيم, but that's the rest of the sentence إذ قال. Remember Ibrahim when he said to his people, or mention Ibrahim in the book of TajdeedRevival. It does not say anything of sending and so on. So again, this is an issue because Ibrahim has been never given the title Rasul in a messenger at all. He's always said either Siddiq or Nabi. And interesting, we discussed once that issue. Yeah, we discussed once that issue of that. So there's nothing really that he has been. He volunteered with this message. He came to know Tawheed by his rationalism, rushdihi. And then he started the message. Later, either before that or other, he received wahi, because he's Nabi, Siddiq al-Nabiyya. And then the people did not accept. He was not sent to them. They were not obliged to listen by not appointed messenger to them. He did not say, I'm the messenger of Allah to you. I say, Abudullah, this is better for you. Read the ayah in Arabic. إذ قال لقوم اعبدوا
وإذ قال إبراهيم لقومه اعبدوا الله واتقوه ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
Yeah, if you know, that's better for you to worship Allah and be conscious of Him. That's better for you. Not that I'm warning you or punishment or anything like that. Anyway, carry on. I just this point I think has been somehow always regarded as Ibrahim is one of the famous of the biggest 5 Rusul and 5 Nabis. I don't know what's the mustanad for that. But anyway, carry on, no problem.
إنما تعبدون من دون الله أوثانا وتخلقون إفقا إن الذين تعبدون من دون الله لا يملكون لكم رزقا فابتغوا عند الله الرزق واعبدوه واشكروا له إليه ترجعون. You worship only lifeless idols instead of God, and thus you give visible shape to a lie. Behold, those, and in bracket things and beings, that you worship instead of God have it not in their power to provide sustenance for you. Seek then all your sustenance from God, and worship Him alone, and be grateful to Him. For unto Him you shall be brought back. Next translation. You worship mere idols instead of God, and formulate falsehood. Those who worship instead of God have no power to provide for you. So seek provision from God and worship Him and be grateful to Him, for to Him you shall return.
Okay,
that's that.
That's very clear, yeah. Very clear. That is the statement he is making.
وَإِن تُكَذِّبُوا فَقَدْ كَذَّبَ أمم من قبلكم وما على الرسول إلا البلاغ المبين.
From there they adopted that he is a messenger. So if you give me the lie, then messenger before were called liars. So he was sent with a message then. So that's why they conclude about the messenger. Read the translation.
And if you give me the lie Well, other communities have given the lie to God's prophets before your time, but no more is an apostle bound to do than clearly deliver the message entrusted to him.
Okay, so this he is clearly, if you give me a lie, then I am just bringing the message entrusted to me. So he's doing that as a message entrusted to him. Okay, so that's the reason we can say he's also a messenger.
Okay, so the next translation: if you deny our message, there are nations before you who have denied it. The messenger's only duty is declared delivery of the message.
The message, yeah. He has no power otherwise. That's all his power. It's bringing the message, nothing else.
Okay. So next ayah.
Hmm?
أولم يروا كيف يبدئ الله الخلق ثم يعيده إن ذلك على الله يسير.
يبدأ الله الخلق يبدئ الله.
Okay, so يبدئ الله الخلق. Yeah. Okay. Are then they who deny the truth not aware of how God creates life in the first instance and then brings it forth anew? This verily is easy for God. Next translation. Have they not considered how God begins creation and then repeats it? That for God is easy.
Yeah, that's clear. So he has this implicit saying it should be visible that the one who start a creation is capable of think about it. There's no discussing that the capability to bring it back. But the one who can initiate can repeat it, and this is easy for him. They should consider that. The one who initiate is definitely capable of to repeating that. Like the one who designed an engine in the first place and make it an engine, is clear that when the engine is defunct and disintegrated, he can put it together again or make a new engine as a replacement. If the material, another material is used and things like that. So that's feasible. The same process in the beginning can be repeated in the other one. Usually it is easier even and simpler because the design is already there, everything. Maybe only the material need to be collected and gathered. That's it. Yeah. Next.
قل سيروا في الأرض فانظروا كيف بدأ الخلق ثم الله ينشئ نشأة الآخرة إن الله على كل شيء قدير. Say, go all over the earth and behold how wondrously he has created man in the first instance, and thus too will God bring into being your second life, for verily God has the power to will anything. Next translation. Say, travel throughout the earth and observe how he brings life into being. Then God will bring the next life into being, for God has power over all things.
The Arabic character is more general. كيف بدأ الخلق. He started the creation, not only just the living things. So it has started by extension, you should go deeper and look how the planets were formed, how the solar system formed, how the galaxies are formed, how the whole universe is formed. And we are getting access to that now by science. At the time, it was not access, but it's a hint. It's accessible. You go around on Earth and start looking. Darwin did that by looking how the species emerged. And then other people looked at how the Earth, the layers formed and so on. And the Earth was formed. And then further information from that on, then we jump to Earth and the Sun and so on, the interaction, the moon, etc., and the theories and ideas and observation, and then the whole cosmos, etc. But you start with the Earth, going around on Earth. Muslim world did not do that, unfortunately. Left it to someone else. Okay. Few did started some knowledge in that direction, but not intensive enough, not the way it should have been if they have really took the Quran as an imam instead of scattering themselves in parts of ayahs, bits and pieces here and there, and bits and pieces of hadith are there. Nothing comprehensive, nothing joined together, nothing taking as their leadership and analyzing it and building then theories based on that, not the opposite. Next ayah, anyway. That's history.
يعذب من يشاء ويرحم من يشاء وإليه تقلبون. He causes to suffer whomever he wills and bestows his mercy on whoever whomever he wills, and unto him you shall be made to return. Next translation. He punishes whoever he wills and shows mercy to whoever he wills, and you will all be returned to him.
Yeah. And we know what are the details of that. Those who punished, who deserve punishment for their deeds, etc. The long, no need to repeat it. He shows this is his privilege and his power. But the condition for that are known. Read the Quran elsewhere. You cannot just take this ayah alone and say, oh, I'm just punishing arbitrarily. It doesn't work this way. Mm-hmm.
Let me know when is a good time to finish. This for another half page or so, it starts at Lut alayhi salam. So we can go on till then, or if there's a convenient junction before, then let me know, inshallah. Yeah.
So what's after that? Now we have Nuh and Ibrahim, and then what is the next?
So after that is Lut alayhi salam. So after Nuh is Lut alayhi salam.
After Ibrahim is Lut. I think, what's the time now?
The time is 3:37.
I think we start Lut next time, yeah? Yeah?
Yeah, we're not at Lut yet. We're still quite a few ayahs to go.
Okay.
Okay. So the next ayah is...
That's general arguments with the mushrikeen or the denier of resurrection, etc. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. وَمَا أَنْتُمْ بِمُعْجِزِينَ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فِي السَّمَاءِ وَمَا لَكُمْ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ مِنْ وَلِيٍّ وَلَا نَصِيرٍ. And never, not on earth and not in the skies, can you hope to elude him, and you have none to protect you from God, and none to bring you succor. Next translation. And you cannot escape him on earth or in heaven, nor have you any protector or helper besides Allah.
Mm-hmm. It's very clear, but it's interesting that say, because usually you say you are not going to undermine us running away in earth, because at that time nobody even imagined they would go into the skies. But mention the skies, meaning even if one day you even go into the skies and master that, which the possibility is there, at least the contingency is there, consistent with the universe. So the hint that maybe one day possible, which has happened now in our recent century. Before that, it was not there, and was not conceivable by anybody. But now it is the domain for the angels and so on. No, it's inaccessible. It turns out it is accessible, it can be accessed. But even there, you are not going to run away from Allah or undermine his power or escape his grip. No, you won't be, neither here nor there. No, the beginning near heaven, nor to the far away of heaven, which is impossible, obviously, to achieve by any means within human power, because only by miraculous means. To the faraway galaxy, there's no way to get there by any human means. It must be miraculous. Mm-hmm. Next.
والذين كفروا بآيات الله ولقائه أولئك يئسوا من رحمتي وأولئك لهم عذاب عليم. And thus, it is they who are bent on denying the truth of God's messages and of their ultimate meeting with him. It is they who abandoned all hope of my grace and mercy, and it is they whom grievous suffering awaits in the life to come. Exactly. Translation. Those who deny God's punishment and their preordained meeting with him have lost hope of my mercy, and they will have a painful punishment.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next ayah is فَمَا كَانَ جَوَابَ قَوْمِهِ. Do you think that's a good place to stop, or should we continue?
That's the answer of the people of Ibrahim. Let us finish Ibrahim. So all the discussion is it seems to be with Quraysh, but it is also what Ibrahim was discussing with his people. So it seems Ibrahim was really opening a school of philosophical discourse there. All these issues discussed by Ibrahim. So all of that he said to his people, and the same as Muhammad saying to the Qurayshi, almost like a copy of it. And then what was the answer after all this education, all these things and all these information? فما كان جواب قومه إلا
فما كان جواب قومه إلا أن قالوا اقتلوه أو حرقوه فأنجاه الله من النار إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يؤمنون. Now, as for Abraham, his people's only answer was slay him or burn him. But God saved him from the fire. Behold, in this story, there are messages indeed for people who will believe. Next translation. The only answer of Abraham's people was kill him or burn him. But God saved him from the fire. In that there are signs for people who believe.
Yeah, they have no answer. They don't. They are irrational. They're just imitating their parents and grandparents. They're sticking to their superior way of life. That's all what they have. No rationality, no thoughts, no ideas. Just what they have received from previous generation without any discourse, any discussion. And if they are squeezed in the corner, since they have the power and control in the land, what they do is start to killing and burning and all kinds of crucifying, whatever tools of execution they have at that time.
Okay, next ayah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, let me show myself. Okay. وقال إنما اتخذتم من دون الله أوثانا مودة بينكم في الحياة الدنيا ثم يوم القيامة يكفر بعضكم ببعض ويلعن بعضكم بعضا ومأواكم النار وما لكم من ناصرين. And Abraham said, you have chosen to worship idols instead of God, for no other reason than to have a bond of love in the life of this world, between yourselves and your forebears. But then, on resurrection day, you shall disown one another and curse one another, for the goal of you all will be the fire, and you will have none to succor you. Next translation. He said to his people, you have taken idols for worship instead of Allah, only to keep the bond of harmony among yourselves in this worldly life. But on the day of judgment, you will disown and curse one another. Your home will be the fire, and you will have no helper.
The other one, says the Muadda, translation Muadda with harmony, is actually Muadda is more closer to harmony than love. Muadda is essentially connection, to keep relations. So that's these idols and disbelief and so on is to keep the society organized around something, around these idols, which each one which represent obviously deities and the stars and so on, represent certain values. That's a god of war, that's something like that. So it connects to their lively necessities and so on. It gives them a definition of life, a way of life, which makes somehow sense in this dunya. That's it. It's not really based on any rational argument, any analysis of the meaning of being, any analysis of the reality of the universe, nothing rational. It's all based on a magic view of the reality. And also continuing a connection with the previous generation, because they say, وَجَدْنَا أَبَعَنَا كَذَلِكَ يَفْعَلُونَ, in the other place in the Quran. That's what we inherited from our parents and grandparents and so on. They were doing that. So we inherited this, our well-established culture, which gives us our own identity, our own character, our own taste, which makes us different, distinct from other people. For example, across the river there to Syria, or across the mountains to Iran and so on, whatever they have other deities and other structure, way or other tastes of life. That's what distinguishes us. We have also distinction by language and so on. All of it is just to keep harmony and connection between each other, essentially, because that's what inherited. That will give us a definition. That's it. But Ibrahim warns, that's only for dunya. Yawm al-Qiyamah, you will be cursing each other. You will be disavowing each other, because this is nothing. This is not based on the fundamental reality of the universe, that the universe exists. Who created it? Is it created or uncreated? Who created it? Created for a purpose or no purpose? These questions are not answered by that inherited idolatry. And by most these inherited religions and ways of life, there's no answer there. At most, they leave the answer for private people to have their own ideas and so on, or their private local religion, like in China. They have the Confucian, which is essentially a system of government and moral government and moral of the state, and some Buddhism, and then local religions. Some worship the ancestors, some worship idols, some worship the stars, and so on. And they call it local customs, and that's all inherited. And everyone is happy for that situation currently in China. And the Communist Party is not confronting that too much, as long as it doesn't interfere with public life and public policy. That's it. Okay. So next ayah.
The next ayah is فآمن له لوط وقال إني مهاجر إلى ربي إنه هو العلي عزيز الحكيم.
Okay. That's the final one in the sequence.
Okay. Thereupon his brother's son Lot came to him and said, "Verily, I too shall forsake the domain of evil and turn to my sustainer, for verily he alone is almighty, truly wise." Next translation. Thereupon his Lot believed him and said, "I will flee to my Lord. He is the revered, the wise."
Yeah. And Lot, from the Old Testament, you know that he's he's what they call it, nephew of Abraham. Yeah, that's it. Abraham. He's the only one who believed, and also his wife, I think Sarah, was with him. That's it. And the three immigrated. Then next ayah is about Lot. Start now with the message of Lot, or what does it say?
So the next one is وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ وَجَعَلْنَا فِي ذُرِّيَّتِهِ النُّبُوَّةَ وَالْكِتَابَ وَآتَيْنَاهُ أَجْرَهُ في الدُّنْيَا وَإِنَّهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ لَمِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. So should we make this the last ayah? Because the next one starts وَلُوطٌ إِذْ قَالَ لِقَوْمِهِ. Okay.
Yeah, that's we have this ayah. So that's then we gifted Abraham later, very much later. Much later, toward the end of his life, Ishaq and Yaqub, and made a prophethood and book essentially inherited in this branch. The other branch has only Ismail and Muhammad. No inheritance of the book is the reserve branch for the long future. But this is the one which should be the incubator for the prophethood and books since then. Read the translation.
Translation is, and as for Abraham, we bestowed upon him Ishaq and Ishaq's son Jacob, and caused prophethood and revelation to continue among his offspring. And we vouchsafed him in his reward in this world, and verily, in the life to come, he shall find himself among the righteous. Next translation, and we gave Isaac and Jacob to Abraham and placed prophets and the book among his descendants. We gave him his reward in this world, and he is in the hereafters among the righteous.
Okay. So everything before the announcement of Ishaq is ignored here, is mentioned elsewhere. So that's that, and we know that was toward the end of his life when he was so old, and his wife is so old that they were in a state of shock to receive that news. That he is going to have she especially is going to become pregnant, etc. And then she got the good news about Ishaq. And in that announcement, when the angels were going to destroy the village of Lut, say, and after Ishaq, Yaqub will come. So it was announced at that occasion. So the horror stories in the Old Testament, that Yaqub has different sons and so on. And then the eldest son, Isa, was supposed to be blessed, but then his wife cheated him. The mother of both, they are supposed to be twins, but the firstborn was this one, and cheated him and let him bless Yaqub and so on. All of this is nonsense. All of this is clearly because Yaqub was announced, and then Ibrahim, and then we're told that the prophethood will be in this line all the way until it is sealed by Isa, and the other line will be sealing the messengerhood to mankind, humans completely. After the line of Yaqub ended to be a failure and failed to be the incubator for the messengerhood completely by the attempt to kill Isa ibn Maryam. Then they were terminated from history. They're finished. They're gone. Dissolved, never to return as an incubator for prophethood. Just became like anybody else, or even less, scattered and forsaken. Okay. And next time we'll continue with the story of Lot.
Okay. Next time it will be Surah Ankabut, ayah 28. That's 29th Surah 28. Okay.
So from this, we see now that now it's clear that Ibrahim was a messenger, because he said to his people, if you call me a liar, previous messenger have been called the same, but the obligation of the messenger is to bring the message. So he was a messenger. He was, after the initial discussion about the stars and so on, he was appointed prophet and appointed messenger.
Is this new information to you? I mean, were you familiar with this before?
I passed it, but I don't focus on it. Yeah.
Okay. Alhamdulillah, that's good. Learn something new every day, as they say.
Yeah. Every time you pass in the Quran, you find new things which excite your mind. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Shows that we're always learning. We're always learning. Okay. So we'll continue. We'll start with our question and answers now, inshallah. Then after that, we'll do the Palestine updates. So I've got one question. Now, this is my friend's son sent this question. So he's not very familiar with our points of view, and obviously it's going to be a question. The background will be what's commonly understood in terms of haram money and things of that nature.
Right. So what?
Haram money, like interest related money. So bear in mind that the young brother who's coming from that perspective might not be familiar with it. So maybe it's a good opportunity to clear up some misconception. But the question itself is this: HMRC charged me approximately £5 to £10 on interest on late fees for my tax. So that's his understanding. So he's been charged interest, and he said, my friend received an insurance payout which included interest. He suggested I use the interest money to pay off the HMRC interest free. Is that permissible? Because I'm not using my own money, with the assumption, so that's the question.
No. The HMRC, they believe they have the right to charge interest. Maybe their own taxes are illegitimate anyway. That's why we're not discussing that. So you pay it even from your other money. Now the question is not that paying HMRC. You have to pay it. Otherwise, they will come and get you and imprison you. Okay? So that's
coercion. You're saying, just to clarify, it's because of coercion.
Yes, yeah, you have to pay it. There's no way. They have the power. And then don't be late in your taxes in the future. Make them in time so you don't get in these extra things which are not necessary. That's number one. And also, some of the taxes are definitely not legitimate. You are forced to pay them. So just pay them, or immigrate to a country which has no taxes if it exists, and so on. So that's it. The other one: what is this insurance payment? How come that it contains interest? And how come that you got in an insurance like that? What is that?
That's somebody else. It's somebody else, because the assumption, I'm guessing, is somebody else has been in that situation, and the assumption is probably that money has a different status. That's what I think the assumption is.
No. Independent of that, how come insurance paid you for what? And what
he paid someone else. I haven't got that information.
Yeah, I know, for something. Which kind of insurance is that? For a car repair, usually they pay you a replacement for the car repair. That the insurance is itself making their own money by interest, that just cannot be avoided. That's the insurance company is doing that. So he has to clarify the other side. What's the meaning of payment from the insurance which contain interest? What means contain interest? What is the meaning of that? How it contains interest?
I won't be able to answer that question if it's not here.
Yeah. Tell us what we should contract with the insurance, what they are paying for what. Yeah. Good. That's leave it for another time. He has to think about that, see what is it. But the first question has nothing to do with this insurance money coming, having interest or having no interest, and things like that. It's independent from that.
So in this instance, is he okay for him to pay it, even the interest, because of coercion?
No, independent of that. He has to pay that anyway from any money. It's independent of that. There's two separate questions. They have nothing to do with that.
Okay, but so the first part of the question is what he's concerned about, because he's obviously going to be charged interest, and he just wants to clear it up.
You have to clear it up, because you should not have gone in that situation. Make sure that you don't get interest on a penalty. Meaning he did not even pay the penalty, so he's negligent in that. Get yourself sorted out, that you avoid as much as possible that you're forced to pay interest and so on. Don't get yourself in trouble while you're on doing.
So he can pay any money of his own towards that
Naturally, he has to pay.
Of coercion. Because of
He
coercion.
has to pay. There's no
Yeah.
escape.
Mhm.
I would go to prison.
Mhm.
They can't come now philosophically say, "Oh, I'm not allowed to take and give interest." Islam says you go to hell with what you believe.
So the point is it's the coercion there. He has a genuine ism.
Independent of that, he has to pay. He has to pay the taxes also. Some of them are not legitimate also. For God's sake, that's not a discussion. The question there is wrong. It has nothing to do with being the interest or being legitimate or not illegitimate. He has to pay. You are in a domain which enforces on you by that's it. You have to pay. But this way, you are guilty of being negligent, that you got interest charges against you. So don't get in this situation. Minimize the payment to the state. Even taxes, if you can avoid as much or avoid as much taxes as possible by using good accountants, so on, do that. A good skilled accountant will show you how much you can avoid. Evasion, you cannot evasion because they will catch you and break your back. That's clearly the job. So do the best to minimize it for various reasons. One of it is that most of these really are not legitimate, are not going to legitimate purposes, but nothing can be done. You are living here, you have to. Or they'll get you. Someone once told you can't even rape the queen, jump on the Buckingham Palace wall and go to the queen bedside like the man who did sometimes in the 90s and so on. And you get away maybe 1 year or 2 years in prison. But if you evade your taxes, you may get 20 years in prison. So be aware. These are capitalist states, and the states live on taxes. Yeah. So that's an issue. And the other issue that I have to explain how come that an insurance payment to you contain interest? What that means contains this.
Okay. Anyway, I was asking, but
I don't understand
now, I'm sure.
It has come like.
I can understand. I mean, I don't know how that situation occurred, but I can understand where the mindset is coming from because
I know. Like those who are getting interest, for example, for having money in an account which is interest bearing there, and then they get the fatwa from Hanafi. Okay, give it to the masjid to build it for the loo, because the loo seems to be somehow najis, so najis money can go there. This is all nonsense.
The money itself doesn't have a state.
Money that has its
mechanism. The mechanism through which it was attained that is the issue.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah. Okay. But for the second question, it's interesting to see what he means that I received an insurance payment which have interest. Is it saying we pay you this plus this interest? Or what does it mean? What does it say it contains interest?
I can see how it could happen. Like I had an accident and I got paid out. It was just a straight off payment, but if it was deferred, it's entirely possible. If a long time elapsed, the intermediary
they will say this is you are due this amount, and they give it to you the moment the calculation is finished usually.
But if somebody delays, that's where the broker may.
But even whatever it is, the payment you receive, is that what they have allocated to you? That they calculate internally an interest or not is none of your business.
Okay, it depends. Yeah, I mean that part of the question for the listener, for the person who asked the question, maybe if they clarify it, if it's not necessarily related to his current predicament, because that is just a question.
Had nothing to do with that whatsoever. The other thing is that the only thing is that maybe, which I don't conceive it, that the insurance say you are due £1,000 now for the replacement of the car or something like that. But unfortunately, we are near bankruptcy. Give us a time. So next year we pay you 1,100 or something like that. You agree? If you agree, you agreed on keep it for us as a loan or something like that. Then you made an interest contract. You can't tell them no. I don't deal with interest. I want my payment now. That's something else. But it's inconceivable. It doesn't happen like that. Insurance we cannot pay you. We usually go and file for Chapter 11 or something like that, so that they are suspended from their obligation until they solve their situation. or they enter into chapter 7. That's in America. Chapter 7 is the solution. And then you get part of your money. You will not get more. You get part. If you get anything, maybe they're so all assets are gone. You get maybe a few cents on the dollar, or maybe only 20 cents. So you're due with 1,000, you get 200 when the company is dissolved and gone. So something like that. So I not conceive how it does mean that insurance contains some money, so interest. It can't be declared like that. It must be payment for something, payment for annuity, payment for life insurance.
Okay. I mean, I'll ask him if he wants to
Yeah.
elaborate. If not,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not related to the first part of the question.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So next question. Oh, by the way, if anyone wants to get on the mic, feel free to unmute or ask to raise your hand and I can unmute you. Okay. How do you interpret the splitting of the moon miracle performed by the Prophet ﷺ? Did it physically happen or was it an optical phenomena like an eclipse?
We don't know, but it was visible as a split. The description is clear. Quran says, and the best narration we have is that the moon was about to set, seen from Mina. I have that in some work, and I was waiting for some Shabab to get me picture there, but Mina was so overbuilt that they could not take a picture, so they went all the way up to Muzdalifah, high up, and took pictures. And you see the two mountains, one mountain to the left if you're looking towards the west, where the moon obviously sets, and the sun was about to rise in your back. So looking at the moon, the mountain to the left is high. It's called Khandama, which continues to Abu Qubais. Yeah. And behind Abu Qubais is the Haram there. And to your right, a smaller mountain, half the height roughly, is called Suwaida. And the description is that it was in between the top of the Suwaida, and so they split and split in two falaqatain, in two pieces. So imagine it split in half circle. It was full moon, half here and half here. The half on top of Suwaida was completely visible, so it's above the Suwaida, and the half on top of that was hidden behind the Khandama. So that's the description of the best ahadith. That's what the people saw. At first sight, it looks like the body of the moon has split. Yeah. So from the measurements and so on, if we have a good picture, the only picture I have is that taken from Muzdalifah. If we can take it from Mina, there it was not possible except if you mount on top of these buildings and so on and take a picture. But the problem with that is that if you mount, the Shabab could not mount. They were afraid the police say what you are doing there, and get a headache. So they avoided that and went to Muzdalifah. But if we could get or measure from that picture, you can imagine from that the size of the moon roughly. Then you can estimate which time in the year it is because the angle is known. All of that is I have already in the research. And then you can estimate which time it was after Hajj. Obviously, people were still in Mina and so on. After Hajj, the Hajj finished, and the Quraysh were there collecting their utensils because they are the one caring for Hajj. They are doing the job of like a tourist advisor or Hajj advisor or things as we know. So we can get this information. So we can locate it in time more accurately. It was obviously in Mecca, but we can locate in time more accurately. That's number one. And we can, from the size, we know, obviously, because the moon sometimes appears smaller, sometimes bigger. Roughly an estimate. We can do some idealized situation and make a roughly calculation. Then we can see what, because it's not the way of looking is not due west. It is west with this towards the north, west, northwest. So the moon sets all the year in different places, from southwest to northwest, like the sun. It goes various moon sets and so on, but not necessarily with the sun at the same time. And the sun is behind them. They did not rise yet. Now, what happened physically there? The first assumption is the moon really split and then joined the game physically. Some people objected that it is in this case, nobody else saw it except the Quraysh and the people outside. Oh, Quraysh say, Muhammad has bewitched you. He blinded you and bewitched you. Nothing has happened outside reality. But then they agreed, okay, put people outside Mecca, receiving the people coming from, there were trade people coming continuously. Every day someone is coming from outside Mecca to intercept the trade caravans coming, some of the caravans, which were far away at that time. When they come in a few days, we check them if they have seen anything amazing or strange along the way. And indeed, they found people tell me, yeah, we saw something shocking. We don't dare say what is it. We saw the moon splitting near that time and so on. Then Quraysh and sisters say, oh, then he has bewitched everyone else. So there's another option is that really it appeared to the people in that, but appearing to the people behind the horizon is not possible for Muhammad. It's then a divine miracle appearance. It's appeared to the people who are relevant for the case, Mecca and around Mecca. That's the miracle addressed. But if it's split physically, some people may object, say, okay, listen, how could it split physically and not the whole world seeing it? Because they don't see the situation as described in the correct and good hadith in detail. It was near sunset in Mecca, near sunrise in Mecca and sunset of the moon, meaning the sun has risen already in the east, already, and the moon has already set, essentially Najd already has set. So anything east of Mecca, Taif and so on, could not have seen it all the way to China, all the way to mid-Pacific. And this is at that time, this is the civilized area with observation facilities, including Iraq. Nobody can see it because it had already set. Who could see it? Only African, essentially, and maybe European. Now, Europe at that time was in deep, obviously, decline. There was no observation. Scientific centers were closed. Most scientific groups were banned. And most philosophical centers in Cyprus and so on ran away to the Persian Empire. They were in Jindisabur and Harran. They were not only a school of law in Beirut was remaining, and few scattered philosophical centers of no significance. The significant philosophy and books and so on went into under the Sassanids and the Sassanid Empire. They were not there. So the people are there in deep ignorance. So most likely they were no, and it was the more you go west, it is still night and darker, and most likely the people are either not having even not a written language like in most Africa at that one, or they are sleeping. There may be some monks praying and so on in their monasteries, but you have to be outside to see it, and it took only a few minutes, so unlikely that anyone can see it. So even if it is physically happening, miraculously, or we can assume that, then nobody could have seen it. Barely anyone, except Mecca and around a little bit east or east of Mecca, maybe all the way to even Taif will not be able, because already the sun should have been shined on Taif. Only the mountain ridge is shielding the sun. That was almost near sunset, moon set and sunrise. So the relevant area which we expect, so that's refutes of the theory that some people in India saw it. It must be a fabricated story. It can't be. Time-wise, it's impossible, inconceivable to be seen. But the story about India is that one Indian king was visiting in Arabia for business in South Arabia, like Yemen and Aden and so on, or Hadramaut, and he saw it. That's feasible. That's in, if you look at the longitude and latitude, in that area it may be. And he saw it accidentally, was awake at night or something like that, and saw it. You need to be awake at that moment, because why should the people be awake at dawn? At the time, most people do not have any dawn prayer, and they are usually they wake up after dawn and they go to their own work, but they never wake at night. There's nothing in that, and there's barely any monasteries or something you could expect. And those monks in monasteries are usually inside. It's not conceivable that they are outside, just praying in the open. Not so. If the story of this Indian king, which was in a business trip in Arabia, that may make sense. But in India itself or elsewhere or in China, that's not possible. I mean, Tamiya mentioned a story that some building in China is having some, say this building is built the year when the moon was split, but he doesn't mention a reference. Where is this door or this inscription, which place, which city? It's just maybe a rumor by some traveling people. And it could be another phenomena which people confuse for splitting the moon, and has nothing to do with this one, and no date, nothing. So, but from the constellation, and this additionally, because it seems to be from the constellation, it was maybe winterly and relatively cold. Most West Africans at the time maybe under clouds. Anyway, so even the African or literal and European were under clouds. And you see the good part of the earth sometimes are under clouds. There'll be a cloudy day, only that area around Mecca is open. So the issue that nobody else elsewhere far away from Mecca, I mean, like in India and so on, is not an issue. In the east, as I said, it's not possible to see because the moon has already set for them, all the way from Iraq, all the way going all the way, and that's the only place you could expect to have observatories. The Sassanids, they're interested in astronomy. The Romans were not that much interested. The church was controlling everything, and astronomy was regarded as non-science and astrology and so on, and was confused with that. And philosophy and logic and mathematics were not very welcome there that much. So you don't expect someone to be observing the moons and the stars at night, that specific day, somehow, if it's not cloudy, assuming. So you have to look to the east, and the east is, they can't see. They're impossible for them to see anything because the moon has already set for them that day. That's all argued, but then I waited for the pictures, and pictures came. We can do some of them, and then got busy with other things, and then now, because vision, hopefully, when we get some cure coming soon, inshallah, some genetic treatment and things like that, we may revive that. But it was a very nice piece of research. There's a few things to be completed, like the direction and things like that, calculating the position of the moon for Makkah in the years, like from the year 610 to 610 immigration. It was in the early phase, definitely. So until 617, 620, and then see monthly wise, where is the moon sitting, which month it is sitting like northeast, like that, roughly with this angle. That's possible. That's feasible. That's feasible. We can do rough calculation first month by month, and then when we guess that seems to be the area we want to be, then we can focus on that and do it on a daily basis and try to get exactly between these two mountains and see how it works. Have more or less an exact day. But Allah Alam what has happened. It could be just people, Allah made them to see that. And this is also miraculous. Because that's what Quraysh acknowledged. Muhammad has bewitched you, but he cannot bewitch the people behind the horizon. That's not within human capabilities. It's impossible, which is true. So if it is mass hypnosis or bewitching or trickery in the present people, group of people, which were a few number of people, that's okay. You find narration and so on, stories, funny stories about it happening in the Kaaba and above Abu Qubays, all of this nonsense. That's not what the real narration with Isnad, which has been verified there, Sheikh. Plenty of nonsensical story. Other story that half of it went in the collar of the Prophet and went from here and came out of his arm and think, oh, this is children's stories. Nothing else. The real narration described exactly where it was and how it appeared, and which half was visible, the one above the Suwaida and the other half behind the Khandama. It says clearly, describe it clearly where it is. And it's visible now, this gap here between the mountain, like this, is visible now from Mina. But because Mina building and so on, and the Shabab felt it's dangerous to go up there without being detected and having to answer question and answer, they moved up to Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah is higher, so you can look from up and you can see the same image. And you can measure we can draw the line to the midpoint and then measure what's the angle to the due west exactly, and so on. Then we know that the azimuth for that day, for the setting, which, as I said, during the year it goes from the far southwest, west-south to west-north. Oh, yeah. But it shifts through the years and so on. So you can study these 10 years there. Any observatory can make the calculation for you, or any program. There's some programs who can make that for you. That part was not done yet, but everything else was done in the research. So that's it. if it's an appearance that was certified by the people coming from outside Mecca that they have seen it. That's no doubt about that. So that's definitely the case. That's definitely the case.
Okay, I got another question, Doc. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this question, you have answered part of it before on the issue of backgammon, but this is a follow-on from that. So it's in relation after you've asked previously in answer to a question. This is probably on the older channel that got taken down, so I couldn't find a reference to it, the question being asked originally. And so in support of those who claim the prohibition of games or involving dice, there are 4 narrations. So these are I'll read out the narrations.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from the first one is from Abu Dawud, 4938, and that is narrated by Abu Musa al-Ashari. Who plays backgammon disobeys Allah and His Prophet, and that is حدثنا عبد الله بن مسلمة عن مالك عن موسى بن ميسرة عن سعيد بن أبي هند عن أبي موسى الأشعري أن رسول الله. So that was the first narration. حدثنا, this is from Adab al-Mufrad 615 or 1270, sorry. And in this positioning on the chapter, the wrong action of someone who plays backgammon, Abdullah ibn Masud, beware of these 2 marked cubes. They should be forcibly prohibited. They are part of gambling. That's from Abdullah ibn
clarify
Masud.
the issue is gambling, yeah. Yes.
But they say about it's these cubes, so that seems like dice itself.
Dice, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So hold on. So that's حدثنا مسدد قال حدثنا مؤتمر قال سمعت عبد الملك عن أبي الأخواس عن عبد الله بن مسعود. So what's this? Is this a prohibition of the dice themselves, or is it the gambling?
No, the gambling. I say the gambling. These games at the time were played for money.
Mm-hmm. So it's not the dice; it's the gambling.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
But
so the next hadith.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Adab. This is from Adab al-Mufrad again, 1277. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As said, someone who plays dice for a bet is like a person who eats pig meat. Someone who plays it without betting is like someone who washes his hands in pig's blood. Okay, so that's someone who's without betting. But that's Amr ibn al-As's own saying. So حدثنا الحسن بن عمرو قال حدثنا يزيد بن زريع عن حبيب عن عمرو بن شعيب عن أبيه عن عبد الله ibn Amr ibn al-As قال. So he doesn't say Rasulullah in that narration. So I could read the Arabic. اللائب بالفسين كمارا كاكل اللحم خنزير واللعب بهما غير كمار قل غامس يده في دم خنزير. But that's a saying of Abdullah.
Which should clarify the issue. Yeah, that is for gambling. Because
but I think he says that, but someone who plays it without betting, the second part.
Yeah, it's irrelevant. You can't. It's because the people feel that Khanzir and his blood is despicable. But it's eating is that what is haram. It's not najis in the sense that you have to wash your hands. No. But people will wash their hands. Who will have his hands contaminated with blood, even of a sheep, and not wash them? So,
but does this carry any authority? Because it terminates Amr bin al-As. He's not receiving revelation. So
yeah. But even if it's not, even if it's a hadith, but it's clearly it's a point of view.
So it's a point of view. So it's not really. So this is from Adab al-Mufrad.
But even the second part is clearly it's just making you feel disgusted.
Okay.
To avoid that
one,
game. That's his point of view.
Okay.
But you can't conclude any prohibition for that.
Okay. So Adab al-Mufrad again, 1274, chapter Manners and Removing Those Who Play Backgammon. Alqama ibn Abi Alqama reported from his mother that Aisha radiallahu anha heard that some people living in a room in her house had a backgammon game. She sent to them saying, if you do not remove it, I will evict you from my house. He censored them for playing that. So
Okay.
حدثنا إسماعيل قال حدثني ملك أن ألكم بن أبي ألكم أن
Yeah, but
أخته.
as again, Aisha is irrelevant again. Yeah.
So that's her point of view.
And there's no clear. Maybe they were laying it for money. We don't know. Maybe she did not make the distinction like Abdullah bin Abdul As did. She took a summary for it. Besides, assuming it's authentic, it's quite questionable. Who are these in Hajj's house that you can see them?
I'll read it. I'll narrate who said it. So حدثنا موسى قال حدثنا ربيع بن قلثم بن جبر قال حدثنا أبي قال خطبنا زبير فقال يا أهل مكة. So he finishes that Ibn Zubayr.
Who made the خطوة?
خطبة بن زبير.
Abdullah ibn Zubayr, yeah.
يا أهل مكة بلغني أن رجالا من قريش يلعبون بلعبة يقال لها البردشير.
النردشير.
Yeah. So this is the saying.
Yeah,
so again, it's a point of view. Yeah. It's not authoritative.
No.
Okay.
Nothing authoritative.
So this next one is This is from Sahih Muslim, the book of poetry, Hadith 2260. This is the prohibition of playing Nardashir.
Nardashir, the same thing. One of them, yeah. This is
okay. He who played backgammon, Nardashir, a game similar to backgammon, is like one who dyed his hand with the flesh and blood of swine. And so this is, let's see where it terminates. حدثنا زبير بن حرب حدثنا عبد الرحمن بن مهدي أن سفيان أن ألكمه بن مرثد أن سليمان بن بريدة أن أبيه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من لعب بالتردشير فكأنما سبغ يده في اللحم خنزير ودمه. So that's
there's no clear differentiation between for money or not for money. Maybe that's for the money or generally.
Okay, so this one doesn't carry the distinction, so we can't be sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, let's see if there's anything missed.
And Abdullah ibn Amr seems to be how regarded that for the case it is not for money, and the other with money is more severe. Oh, that's the point of view. This is general, so it could be for money, the one for money.
So from a point of view,
that's the best one, maybe under those.
So there's also other things. So Al-Qurtubi said the verse indicates that's from Surah Maida 50 to 90 to 91. Let me just see if I can bring that up as well. From an Asuli point of view, I mean,
just go ahead, get what's what he says, which man. Let's see how the people think first before we go to the Asuli point of view.
Let me try and find it.
There's no other share in the Quran. There's only Maisar. Which ayah he means?
Surah Maida. Give me a second.
إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه.
يا أيها الذين إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأذلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه لعلكم تفلحون. Verily, games of chance and sacrifices at altars and divining arrows are abomination from the work of Shaitan. So avoid, so you may be successful.
When he said it's gambling for money, that's clear.
Okay, so next ayah.
And Islam is that predicting the future by casting lots and things like that, predicting the future.
In 91 إنما يريد الشيطان أن يوقع بينكم العداوة والبغضاء في
famous هاي الخمر الميسر
ويصدكم only only intends the shaitan to cause between you enmity and the hatred through intoxicants and gambling, and hinders you from the remembrance of Allah and from the prayer. So you'll be the ones. So will you be the ones who abstain? So
Yeah.
that's from. So Al-Qurtubi on this says this indicates that it's prohibited to play with dice and to play chess, whether that involves gambling or not. And that's Jami al-Ihkam
No, that's
al-Quran.
his imagination. That's his imagination. Because he conclude that because the Quran mentioned one of the hikmah, one of the reasons why that al-khamr wal-maisir, if you indulge in them, it causes enmity and hatred, and also it gets you so busy so that you miss the salah. Now, khamr can cause hatred because if people are drunk, they tend to have fights and etc. We know that, the drunkard and so on, or beat up their wives, something. We know these things. And also, they obviously will miss their salah because they are drunk and so on. The same with the maisir. The maisir, which how could be enmity unless they fight for money? If you're just playing for points and just for enjoyment, there will be no fight. You will not be sitting there and indulging it if there's nothing there, money about it. The other one will be just for pastime. Yeah, just points. I have more points than you and so on.
Unlikely a game of Monopoly would go fatal.
Unlikely that will be so that you and in the case of chess, it's very well possible that people arrange. Yes, chess take a long time and may have this aspect, but clearly there's no or narration about chess does not mention a prohibition. The maximum is Ali ibn Abi Talib passed on people playing chess, say, what are these tamathil? What is that? These statues you are devoted to? That's all. They're smiling. That's it. But you can very agree with the player. If you have long play and so on, you can agree that the moment salah is called for, you freeze the situation as it is and go for salah and come back complete, or end the game at that moment. Something like that.
Essentially, an illah being, or a prerequisite being, or
yeah. So
issue being about.
So Qurtubi is being coming from Maliki. It leads to this. It leads to China. It leads to India. Is applying. There's no solid point there. But this is the hikmah. It's not the reason for the prohibition. There's a hikmah. Most of the time, this will happen. Drunkard are the one who have most fights and the ones who beat their wives, and drunkard women beat their husbands and so on. Yeah, that's well known. That's well known. And the drunkards come home and beat their kids and so that much more than the other non-drunkards. We know that. That causes hadawa and baghdha. And obviously, if you're drunk, then it's very difficult to remember the time of salah and so on. The same with playing for money. You get so excited and you try to regain and so on. That you think, now I'll win. Otherwise, and also you have cheated. Now you don't have cheated. And the people, you say how cowboy movies, how many gambler they shoot each other with a gun because someone is hiding an ace in his collar or something like that. We know that. This is all nothing persuasive, really.
Okay,
the only one is the hadith. The hadith is saying that as he's putting his hand in just this, you should avoid it. It's despicable. It's not a nice pastime, especially not the share, because not share on points. There's nothing really. Just gaining points is not really that attractive. It's not like chess. Chess, you gain skills, you gain something else, so it's worth devoting time. This one, what is it if there's no money on it?
Okay,
there's not much of a great strategy there. There's a bit of strategy, but there's not a great there.
Okay, bruv, you want to ask something on the mic?
Assalamu alaikum. I was just making sure that when you travel, you don't have to go to Jumu'ah, correct? Hello?
Yeah, you arrange, what do you mean you have to travel Jumu'ah? If you arrange your travel so that you pray Jumu'ah and travel. But it's not possible. Sometimes it's not possible. The plan of the airline is so that it will depart before Jumu'ah. So what can you do?
Well, in the place that you go to, let's say you I'm going somewhere for 1 week. In that place, do I have to go to the mosque on Friday, etc. for Jumu'ah?
Yeah, you can go there. So what was the question?
Oh, the question is, do I have to? As in, is it obligatory for me to go on Friday?
No. If you're traveling, if you are traveling, no, in traveling, Jum'ah is not obligatory. The majority of fuqaha. There's
Okay.
only one who's settled. But people said, if you are traveling at the time of Jum'ah from your own home country, arrange the time so that if it is close to Jum'ah, then delay it until after Jum'ah, then start your trip. That's for starting the trip. You understand what I'm saying? That's the question there. I understood the question to be like this.
Okay.
But if you are on travel already, you are not at home, you are traveling, or you are a Bedouin and so on, you are not obliged to attend Jum'ah. That's it.
All right. Now, I'm going to Turkey from
Going to China, anywhere. You are not home, you are not obliged.
I'm going to arrive there on Monday and stay there till Saturday. So on that Friday that's coming in Turkey, do I have to go to Jum'ah in Turkey?
You are on traveling. You don't have to go according to the majority of madhahib. That's what it.
Okay. I just wanted to make it specific.
Yeah. You have to be specific. Yes. Your question sounded that if you are traveling, you have to pray Jum'ah first, meaning traveling. Your question is wrong. You didn't mean that. You are traveling on Jum'ah day, and you can arrange it so that you pray first Jum'ah and go. You should pray Jum'ah first and go, because you are still settled. You did not start. But if the booking is so that you cannot book except like 10 o'clock or 11, then nothing can be done. And you have to take the plane. And then when arriving, you make Jama' Dhuhr and Asr in the arrival station or something like that. Nothing can be done about that. This is simple. There's no need to ask about such questions. It's very simple.
Yeah, just making sure.
The majority of scholars say that Jum'ah is only for the muqim and mayor, etc. Majority. Maybe dispute about who is obliged and not obliged, some details, but in traveling, you are not obliged. You can.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
That's a standard, pretty fiqh question. We should not be really.
Just making sure.
Inshallah.
Okay, next question. I'm not sure if we're going to have time for this one then. Can you elaborate on what exactly happened during the battle between Ali radiallahu anhu and Muawiya?
No. Wait for complete books to come. Just leave it.
Okay.
Leave it. We'll elaborate. We have to wait for the book of this is a complete book. This is many stages.
Just you might be able to tell us, and who are the people that pushed Ali to accept the agreement, and how? So this is maybe a smaller portion of this.
Even that is not being studied properly, but most likely the so-called Qurra, the one who is claimed to be devoted to the Quran and their reading and so on. And this seems to be the strongest point of view. They're one who insisted and threatened that they would cease fighting or join Muawiya and things like that. The one who did not, the one who overtrusted their own wrong understanding instead of following the Imam and his instruction, his understanding.
And how was this assassination linked to the agreement when everyone knew he was against it?
What do you mean relate to an agreement?
So how was his assassination linked to that agreement when everyone knew he was against it?
No, it's not like assassination is something else later. That's the Khawarij, something else later. Say he and Muawiya and so on are the reason for this calamity. We have to kill all of them. They succeeded in killing Ali only. That's something else. Had nothing to do with this. That's much later.
But they said about the issue of judgment that one of the common story is that they said that because of Ali radiallahu anhu went for judgment, and they're saying this is you judge by other than what Allah has revealed. That's
also they commented on that also. That's from the beginning. The Khawarij are making a mistake. They don't understand the meaning of hukum. They don't understand the meaning of arbitration. And they rallied the people to, we should cease, we should respect the Mus'haf and refer to the judgment. And then later on they regretted, and later they changed their point of view, and because they read the Quran shallow, they don't understand it. They thought because they memorize the Quran and read it at night all the time and extreme in ibadah, they are the knowledgeable one. They are not the knowledgeable one. That's the definition of Khawarij.
So the abbreviated answer, I hope that covers it for the person who asked the question initially. But the elongated one is going to be quite some time before that book is available, because it's still being compiled. It's going to be a long time.
Yeah.
And you know,
But
ultimately,
this is the summary. That's the summary. They insisted, and they were rallying the other against that, say that we have to refer to the Book of Allah. We must refer to the Book of Allah, and so on. And they were threatening to seize and support Muawiya against him, and so on. And Ali had no other recourse. Told them, this is a trick. I know that. I know these guys. You don't know them. I know them very well. And there's a possibility behind the scene that Muawiya did bribe and buy some of them, because being a Quran reader and being devoted publicly, I mean, a group of people, they have their own section in the army, their own brigade. Does not mean all the brigade are really good believers. There will be a few munafiq and pretender there. Maybe Muawiya bribed them and bought them, like he was able to buy and bribe Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. But it was almost well established now from our research until now. And he made this miserable judgment. Yeah, many other things like that. As possibilities. That's done more like investigative journalism and forensic police work. Need to go through the narration. We'll go do inshallah, when we discuss the issue of Muawiya and the whole fitna and how he started and which kind of hadith he fabricated. Only the fabricating, the portion of fabricating at least the hadith in the meeting at Bayt al-Maqdis at that time, we have exposed it. The writing is almost finished. It's finished. It's being just reviewed linguistically, and if a nice cover has been made for that, it will come out inshallah soon. Both PDF and Word. It's more technical really, because all asanid are showing that the three, Muawiya and Abdullah ibn Hawala and Ka'b ibn al-Bahzi, they conspired at night to fabricate that story and made it in a very nicely developed drama. They put the drama in front of everyone in a very cautious and intelligent way. And they got away with that. They moved the whole army, became convinced that really Uthman was killed unjustly, and he was the one on the right, the other people are on the wrong, and so on. But following the two other narrators, the two thugs of Muawiya, Ka'b ibn al-Bahzi and Abdullah ibn Hawala, and their future narrations show clearly that what they said there is not that what they narrated later. Scrutinizing all their narration, they have lied. They did not synchronize properly. They synchronized for that day well. But after that, one of them at least blundered completely, which showed that it was never that what they represented that has happened. The story is that they claim Ka'b al-Murrah stood and say, I am the least of you of the close to the Messenger of Allah, and having met him, and all of you are more senior than myself, but I could not afford not to tell you what I have. I was with the Messenger of Allah with some people and so on. And a man who was covering his face was passing quickly. And the Messenger of Allah said, there will be a fitna coming under the feet of this man, coming from under the feet of this man, which is so severe like the horns of cows, sayas al-baqar. And this man will be on the haqq at that day. So I say I ran and turned him to the Messenger of Allah and exposed his face and say, is this one? He said, yeah, it's this one. It will be on the haqq at that day and the guidance. And that man was Uthman. That's okay. He may be telling the truth, he may be lying. Now, a man from under the pulpit of Muawiya, I was in a pulpit. He was starting the rebellion in Sham after Ali was elected in Medina. A man stood from pulpit and said, you were there really? أنت صاحب ذلك. You have been there really? He said, yes, I have been there. Say, Wallahi, I was there also, and I saw exactly that what you said. And if I knew that someone will trust me in the army, I would have started that and not waited. But since you started, I'm confirming that. So Muawiya became happy. Obviously, this is now okay. Maybe it's true. At the beginning, there's no reason to doubt that. And this narrated from various channels. We can fix it and hold it in. So he confirmed that what the story of Ka'b ibn al-Bahzi. Now we follow the narration of Ka'b ibn al-Bahzi all his life until he dies, and the people narrating for him, a few, not many. And Abdullah ibn Hawala, who has a diarrhea of narration, other stories. Ka'b bin Murrah repeat the same story roughly with variations. We could say memory is not exact and so on. We can be merciful. But Abdullah ibn Hawala narrating the same story now with Siyas al-Baqar, narrated completely differently. Never the same one like they said, I was there in the prison. Not the same gathering, not the same occasion. And he is the one who turned Uthman, not the Ka'b bin Murrah. Completely different. It's impossible that he was there and that he confirmed that. So it must have been fixed the night before by Muawiya, and these are his own thugs. Ka'b bin Murrah al-Bahzi from Bahz, and Bahz is a branch of Bani Sulaim. And these are a branch of the Kwan, a cursed tribe belonging to Abu al-Awar al-Sulami, the thug of Muawiya. That's well. Abdullah ibn Hawala, nobody knows exactly what he is. Some people say he's Azdi, some people he's Ansari. Almost certainly he is from the same gang of Abu al-Awar al-Sulami also. And almost certainly they are munafiq like Muawiya, and they fixed it this way. But Abdullah ibn Hawala was not cautious enough. So he had this diarrhea, repeating the story in many occasions, about 5 or 6 narrate from him, with all kinds of variations, none exactly or remotely similar to that Ka'b bin Murrah al-Bahzi. That's number one. Secondly, he narrates other stories which clearly fabricated from the Messenger of Allah about the virtues of Sham, and Allah shows in Sham, and the angels are on the Sham, and all of these about the Levant and the virtues of the Levant. So clearly, it's clear now who is the fabricator and the liar. Abdullah ibn Hawala for sure, and the drama represented there is very clear that it didn't happen. Because Abdullah ibn Hawala said that in the gathering of the army near Bayt al-Maqdis, he said, addressing Ka'b bin Murrah, وَأَنْتَ صَاحِبُ ذَلِكَ? You have been there? Really, you have been there? He said, yes, I have been there. He said, Wallahi, I was there and saw it exactly as you said. And if we believe that someone in the army will trust me to come, I would have come first with that. But I hesitated. I'm not known to the army. Who will trust me? But luckily you started, mashallah. Now I'm confirmed. Very good piece of theater. Excellent. Muawiya was elated and the army was happy. Oh, most of them are simpleton. People are trustful. Gullible, you know how the people at the time. Nobody imagined that someone lies and another one lies confirming him. Nobody could have in his mind at that moment. And nobody in history came to this idea until the poor servant in front of you, putting all narration together, said there's something fishy, and then we go to that meeting and find all channels of narration, and then we catch that. As well established, part of it in Muslim, part of it in Sahih, and so on. And we catch it.
Just a quick question.
With this one, those 3 are banned out. Definitely they have conspired to do it. Because Muawiya, when Ka'b bin Murrah al-Bahzi stood and say, I am not the oldest, but I have something important to report to you, the Messenger of Allah said. So Muawiya said, when he said, Allah ordered the controller of the army, tell everyone to sit. Listen. Respect to what the Messenger of Allah said. It's an excellent piece of hadith. Someone should make maybe a movie by AI and so on, trying to represent the situation. Excellent theater. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala struck this Abdullah ibn Hawala with dumbness. He repeated the story to many people, 5 narration. After that gathering, he did not say what he said exactly. But Ka'b bin Murrah, I was there, present, and so on. All his narration about this story are completely different. Not the same occasion, not the same situation, not this, not that. He is the one who exposed Uthman, not Ka'b bin Murrah. Completely different. Impossible to be the same situation. And impossible to be another situation with the same repetition of the fitna, like the horns of cows. A deadly fitna. And the close one to happen soon. And Uthman will be on the haq on that. So that's it. That's what we have. So that's from the beginning. Already in 36. Few months after Uthman was killed, and Ali got the bay'ah and sent people to get the bay'ah from Sham, and they were forcefully sent back etc., etc. That will be in the book then in detail. That will come soon, inshallah. This one piece, about this piece of theater, with the title Establishing Proof إقامة البرهان that على كذب ونفاق معاوية بن أبي سفيان, that Muawiya is كاذب and munafiq, and the subtitle the drama in Marj Saluja near Beit al-Maqdis. Marj Saluja is the meadow where they were gathering, the army was gathered. It's called Saluja. It doesn't exist today with that name. Maybe it's another name, near Beit al-Maqdis. The drama near Marj Saluja is a drama, is a play. Okay, that's it. So anyway, I think we have spent too much time on that. This is the real hard work and investigation, almost like forensic police work. And then there's this point there. It's based on that alone we can conclude this result. Not taking input about Muawiya from Israel, which is plenty negative, damning him, many things damning him, many things damning him, burning him already without this one. But this one is so by itself alone an issue which by itself alone screams to the heaven, to the seventh heaven. Okay, I think we'll conclude here.
Okay, just a quick one. Somebody asked a question about Masafir. I'll just clarify. Someone says there is no injunction that says if you stay in a location past 4 days, you can no longer be Musafir, because it's down. Being Musafir, there's no time limit as to you being a Musafir.
No, this is estimates by Abu Hanifa, etc. Something it must be farsakh, something it's the time.
But even in terms of time limit, if you're going on a holiday and this isn't your permanent home,
there's no time limit. You can, if you are on safar, it's not your home place, and you are on safar and going there and so on, even if you stay a year there, unless you establish a home. And the best thing, say, if the other place, when you arrive, you establish a home and get married and so on, this will be a new home. Then you have a new home now, in addition to the old home. Even Ibn Uthaymeen went a little bit extreme, claimed that people going to America to study, they are not establishing a home in that sense, and they can do Jama' and Qasr, etc., and until they come back, even for 4 years. I think it's a little bit too much, because if you go for study, you will have obviously a flat and so on, especially if you are married, you have a new home. I would say you are really in a home. You are not on travel anymore in any reasonable sense. You are not just having a stop for attending a conference or something like that. That's different. Or you're doing business for 1 or 2 months, or just being in a hotel. That's not a home. Having your own flat, or even buy a house or something like that. Like many students from rich families, they buy a house and then sell it when they come back, or buy an installment, or whatever they do. That's, you have established a new home. I would say that's a new situation. And he extended even to truck drivers. So only truck driver who have no home and they sleep in their truck and so on, their whole life going around, that the truck is their home, then they can't be on trouble. So they are not included in that, because this is their life. They can't stop and they can't do the salah separately, because they don't believe in jam like most Sunni, for otherwise. And then also siyam, they have to fast and so on, arrange themselves like this one, not wait until, because there's no place to go back, so that they can do their Ramadan. I think Ibn Uthaymeen went a little bit overboard, but he's closer than those who fix the time and so on. I think the issue of a real home, not a temporary thing like hotel and so on. Real home with the intention to stay an open time, at least a long time, year and more and so on, for study and so on. Because if you go for study, you're not going just for a few months or for a conference or for a summer course. You're going for a degree. Then you establish a home there. And if someone asks you, where did you live in Tafseer? I lived first in my home country, Skada, but I have home for myself. I would say I had Cologne is another home for me. I was at home there for 12 and a half years. I am at home at London now. Because when I came here, I established a household. It's open-ended. I cannot say that I'm traveling. Yes, I hope to go back one day, but But home is not enough. I have a household here. And so that's the most reasonable way without going the extreme of it, I mean, concerning students in America or something like that. Most likely he's also mixing it in his mind that is in principle haram to stay in the domain of kufr and so on, unless you have a reason, a compelling reason. So he doesn't regard it as a home. Maybe that's it coming in his mind. Allah Alam. I'm not trying to find excuse for him, but he is a little bit extreme. Okay. I think we should. Enough is
yeah,
enough.
just a quick one. Somebody might have a follow-on question on the issue of backgammon. So the person in question, I've allowed you to unmute. If you want to unmute now, go for it. If not, don't know what to say. It's up to you. I'll give you 5 seconds. Very quiet. Can you get your mic closer?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear.
Yeah. So my question regarding the last question that Rash asked you about the games involving dice. So my main point of contention here is
Sorry, the games involving dice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Salaf bring this main point of contention that it involves the element of chance, which is also included when you do betting or gambling.
No, but this has nothing to do with that. Ayat al-Maysar is Maysar. Betting for money. Qumar, Murahana.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so that's it. So that's their point. That's their point. It's irrelevant. Where got that point from? From their imagination.
When you throw a dice in a game, it's also involving this element of chance.
It doesn't matter. It is a play. It is a play. And you get, if you are playing for points, yeah, this is a waste of time. Yeah, I agree with that.
Every game's going to be an element of chance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Football.
There's some chances, various levels of chance. Besides dices or throwing dices or casting lots is permissible for certain legitimate things.
I think the important thing to note is this.
Like you have several wives, you cannot take them with you on a trip, all of them. You take one of them, you don't take as according to your desire, because they have the right of these nights. So you cast lots. That's also chance. This is all, these arguments do not work. The prohibition of Maysar is clear. What's Maysar? That's for money.
Sheikh, I mean, there's certain fundamental premises.
And the ayah about the evil of Khamr and Maysar shows clearly hatred and Baghdad. This will not happen because you are not happy with the points you got, and there's no money in the matter. No money, no problem. I defeated you, defeated me. I gained by points.
But Professor, do you see the similarity here in betting?
Similarity is irrelevant. What is the reason for the tahrim? And
the
what
similarity
is the
between marriage and zina both involve genitalia. Doesn't make one prohibited.
Except offer and acceptance.
But what the Salaf are saying here is that
what Salaf, bro? Have you watched our videos? The Salaf, there isn't one Salaf. There isn't a book.
Which Salaf you mean here? We have in this hadith we have Abdullah ibn al-As making a distinction. Aisha is not making a distinction. The hadith of the Messenger of Allah says, as if he putting his hands on, meaning is despicable. But this is not tahrim. Because simply what is prohibited in pig is eating it. Not touching it. Not putting your hand in its blood. Not doing anatomy in it, study of his.
I'm not taking that hadith necessarily. I'm taking the other ones, which is
no. This is the one. That's the only one which is valid, which stand on its own feet.
Yeah, I'm talking about the interpretation of these specific people. Amr ibn al-As and al-Qurtubi.
No. The hadith, the relevant hadith is the one in Muslim, going to the Messenger of Allah.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah, so. That's the only one you could say, and it doesn't mention something which is something disliked.
But so basically, you're saying to finalize that the betting and gambling that has the same element of chance.
It's not the element of chance. Gambling on money, not the element of chance. That's the mistake.
Okay, so it's the money that's being put that makes it haram, not this element of chance, right?
No, but it's just irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. So obviously we have that opinion, and so I'm more inclined towards your opinion. So
It doesn't matter. Get an evidence why the element of chance is an issue.
I think what's important
they
here-
just bring the main ayah of Surah Al-Ma'idah 90 to 91. That's what Rash presented.
That's just not an authority. Say, Massari, I'll give you the hikmah also.
Also, Prof, can I just from a Usuli point of view, something to understand is to make something prohibited, when you have absolute evidence to say everything is permitted, you need something compelling, compelling to make it prohibited.
Yeah.
So, for example, not that it sounds like this, it's maybe this, is this. Allah puts the lines very clearly.
Very clear.
So he's put the line very clearly about gambling
Al-hikmah.
money. So that's what I'm saying. So
لا
what I'm saying is-
الحكمة. Even here, even if we say the hikmah was mentioned, was not a illah, mentioned in the ayah after that. إنما يريد exclusively, the devil wants you to have hatred and enmity in khamr and maisir, and does the divert you from salah and dhikrillah. Are you going to see the desist? So what in khamr, we know how hatred happened, because drunkards are more liable of being getting excited and fighting each other and beating each other up, etc., and also beating their wives, beating their kids. We know that. Okay? And also, when you are drunk, obviously you will miss the salah. You will not remember the salah. That's clear for the khamr. For the maisir, where's the hatred at Baghdad? Because in the الخمر والميسر. And after that, وصدكم عن سبيل عن ذكر الله وعن الصلاة. After that, so both is there's hatred and Baghdad. Where's hatred in Baghdad, or the game of chance and writing points?
Like in dice involved games like Ludo, for example, there is some sort of, there creates a rift.
Hatred will happen if you're playing for money and they think you are cheating, and then we have a fight. We see go in the movies and see.
Yeah,
Almost
definitely
every
not
cowboy
here.
movies, there's a fight about gambling because someone is hiding an ace, and they tend to do cheating because they want to win, because there's money. If there's no money, nobody will do that. And
Yeah.
even if some does that, because some people are keen to win and so on, it's only points. Okay, you just say you don't play with him. That's it.
Yeah, definitely not hatred. Yeah.
Yeah, that take care of the problem. There will not be hatred than Baghdad and shooting each other and killing each other, like we see with gambler for money. The moment they have a doubt that you are cheating, you will get killed. And the gangsters like mafia and so on take care of gambling because they can milk people there and so on. We know that. They will not go for games which there's no money. There must be some money for gangster to work in these games. That's the reason the issue with football, only because they're gambling on football. That's where the mafia and all these organizations work and cheat, and they make fixing up the games. Why they fix up the games? Just my team has won? No, because there's money.
Yeah.
And there's gambling in China following even the Champions League in England and try to go through certain channels to fix it. In China, there's a market of gambling here for the Champions League, not even the Premier League, the Champions League. A lot of fixing is going there. But money. That's what's caused Hadaw Baghdad, not points.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice. Yes,
Mhm.
use your mind, brother. Don't listen to, of course, the element of chance. What's the element of chance?
Also,
So I guess
something
the
that you
conclusion we can draw is that Al-Qurtubi is wrong in involving this dice element, because it's not really bound. Yeah.
Also, something you might find handy, because the Doc's Tawheed series, you go through a very Usuli, he builds a strong point of view around Usul. Become familiar with how evidences are approached to making them qati. Because the problem with, say, for example, you're amongst, say, Salafis, for example, they like to use sound bites. They like to say the Salaf did this, the Salaf said that, just to some form of intellectual terror or to make a person cower down.
No, I'm not that type of person. No.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that about yourself. I'm saying that sometimes when you're in an environment, you may come across this kind of argumentation.
Yes,
so, for example, I mean, there's some very good people out there, like Dr. Shadi al-Masri, for example. He's good at rebuttaling some of these points of views. What the Salafis, Madkhalis have done is they've tried to corner the market, say this is unequivocal, this is absolute, this is what the Salaf said. When you really go into the depth of it, there's nothing behind it. There isn't a book. There's a brother called Sheikh Ilyas, who's very good as well. He went through, he's a Dhahri, and he smashed them on this point. What book are you referring to?
No, it's clear.
All
what you need just to go to the Usul and start with the Quran and take all the generalities and work through them. And all the hadith are really clear, and the Quran is very clear.
Okay. Got one other brother.
And the replication of Mushrikeen about halal and haram. Many places in the Quran say about Bahira and say, who made the prohibition? Tell me who made the prohibition. In some place he prohibit generally. Don't say for the kadhib that's halal and haram, so that iftari al kadhib. But we know the basic ruling is halal because Allah said, create everything in heaven for you, enjoy it. That's clear. So everything is basically halal. And also the famous hadith. أني خلقت عبادي كلهم حنفاء كلهم فأتتهم الشياطين فاجتالتهم عن دينهم وأمرتهم أن يشركوا بي ما لم يجوا بها وحرمت عليهم ما أحللت لهم. حرمت. الشياطين تحرم, not تحل. Shayateen are more intelligent than you think. They will not come to haram until you make it halal. No. They know that haram is well established usually, so well established and clear that they will not succeed in that. But they come to halal and say, it has an element of chance. It smells like this. It may be like this. It may be like that. No, and bring you certain aspects. That's a tradition. We spare a camel because of this. We do that because of that, and so on. That's what the people Jahiliyyah. That a bull elephant which produces 10 female camels in a row. That's because he has produced such an excellent, because the female camel, the naqa, is preferable over the male camel. The male camel, you need few. We need the female ones. These are producing meat, they're producing milk. So if you produce 10 in a row, no male in between, this is seems to be marvelous. It's deserving to be protected from slaughtering. Who said that for you? You may decide for him, camel, oh, he did all what I want for him. Let him die peacefully. And he is, after he dies, I cut his meat and give it to the maybe to the dogs and so on as a food, instead of wasting it for the bacteria. Maybe that's it, but let him die peacefully. That's okay. But you don't make it halal and haram and make it sharia. The same with your cats. And things like that. You may have some sympathy to certain animals with you, and you treat them a certain way because they served you in a certain situation. Like I was rebuked a woman who mounted al-Qaswa. Well, Qaswa was taken by some tribe, and she was taken also prisoners of war, and she succeeded in escaping with the back of the Qaswa and escaped because it was fast. Nobody can catch it. And then she made another that she would slaughter al-Qaswa. The Messenger of Allah said, what a miserable reward. That camel saved her, and she make oath to slaughter her for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Slaughter something else. It shows bad taste. Does not mean slaughter al-Qaswa. Besides, obviously, but they said, there's no other في معصية الله, and what you don't own, because she doesn't own the Qaswa. Qaswa belongs to the Messenger of Allah. She can't make another to slaughter al-Qaswa. She has to get the permission of Messenger of Allah first, before making an oath. So the oath is invalid. That's it. But he said, بئس ما جازتها. What's a miserable reward for being escaped by this to slaughter for Allah. Slaughter something else, thanking Allah, not the one who saved you. You should appreciate for the animal who saved you by its feet. That's good taste. Does not mean if it is your animal and you're allowed to slaughter that, if you slaughter it is sinful or some haram, but it shows bad taste. So you don't put things in the tasty and reasonable way of really sophisticated and advanced human beings. Just the opposite. You should say, oh, this camel saved me. I will give it special treatment from my side only. That's not haram al halal. I will not use it, for example, in hard work. Treat it better as a reward. Yeah, that's fine. No problem. So, that doesn't work this way, my brother. But this is the way invention and religion comes, and then things become so frozen and so stuck. At the end, it becomes extremism and religion, and the people go to the other extreme. That they desert all of that and become impossible.
Professor, just one last question about your publication.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have like an outline of the political structure in a governance in Islam outlined in any of your publications?
We have the Saifat al-Madina. We have various outlines, general outlines, the principles. Not like the constitution draft yet.
We don't have a structure of governance, right? Like political structure.
We have, for example, the one of Hizb al-Tahrir need to be improved. I'm keeping that aside. They have other structure, people made other things, which we can start with them. But I thought the fundamental principles of like federation, confederation, like major issues were not settled properly in time past and not included in a constitution in an important way. So we have to settle these, and each one of this area has its own book until now, remaining now Sultan al-Ummah. So we settled the issue of election and the structure of election, how to understand election as a bay'ah, and all of these things has to come in Sultan al-Ummah. I'm promising that since 20 years, but every time seems that many other issues to have been settled before that, and we're doing it. Okay.
Do we have it in the time of state of Medina? Do we have this dominance hierarchy? Do we have the structure of governance outlined?
Yeah, in Sahih al-Medina. Read the Sahifa.
No, I know that there what Islamic governance generally looks like in there, but not the structure of administration and so on.
We have the book of Hamidullah, التراتيب الإدارية في المدينة في الدولة المدنية. All the administrative things and details, yeah.
Also, just one question on that. I mean, some things are areas of permissibility in terms of how you're going to structure.
But it was a simple administration. It was not complicated like the United States of America. No, it could not be.
But Sheikh, I mean, is this a valid point? Ultimately, it's going to be a human's judgment as to how you subdivide categories, because that's a human endeavor, isn't it?
No doubt about that.
So you don't necessarily need a divine injunction. Your state is going to have 5 governors for this area, 3 for that area. You don't need that. Doesn't need to be.
No. But he means like a skeleton constitution, like the American constitution, a skeleton. Yeah. We have to have something like that, more than just Sahih al-Medina. Sahih al-Medina was the beginning of like a framework of a constitution, not really a constitution. Besides, it's also a treaty between confederates also. So it's a constitution plus treaty. It's more complex, but you need something like more a constitution. We adopt this development slowly in my mind, but we're getting there. Yeah.
Okay, if it's okay with you, I'm going to just one last person to ask a question, because he did Bertie, you want to unmute? If not, we're going to go straight to Palestine update. Last question.
Yeah, it's related.
Very faint. Try and see if you can bring yourself closer to the mic, or discuss tomorrow.
This should be better.
Yes, better.
Yeah. So it's related to what you were discussing before with the gambling and these kind of things. So there's a hadith indicating that the only types of tournament allowed are horse racing and one other thing. Some people have said that this leads to a prohibition of professional sport, because most of it is based upon a tournament system. So, you'd have a sponsors, but then have some sort of entry fee, and then after that, the competitors would compete, and the winner takes prize money. Is this true, or is your opinion that?
No. They mean لا سبق إلا في كذا كذا كذا. This لا سبق. This is putting a reward for the one who wins. Who is put the reward? The people who attend to that is not of type of gambling, or most likely. But the best thing for that, Abdul Basit, you're Abdul Basit, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, Abdul Basit. Go to the fuqaha and see what is this la sabq, what they, because I never attended that area. It was never relevant, because what we have now is really gambling, people gambling, which horses win, and they divide between them with the bookies and so on. That's clear gambling. There's no doubt about that. And even the British law declare that as a gambling, make it distinct from lottery and all these things. Okay?
We're talking specifically about professional sport, where people would compete in various sporting challenges, skill-based things, and then they would take
No, I want you to go and read what the fuqaha said about this chapter completely and comprehended what they mean with the sabq. Is it supposed to be a price set for the one who wins to encourage the sport? Yeah? That's what the prices are set, and these doing the race are but who set the prices here in England? Usually the gambling companies. And where they get the money? They get it from the public by gambling and bookies.
Yes, for some things, but for most things, no. For most professional sports, it's by sponsorship. So, for example,
that's okay. That would be no problem. If there's no gambling, there's no problem. That's what I mean. That's the case of horse races. That will be not up. At that time, it was not like that. It was there was sponsorship. The state was doing that. The Messenger of Allah was himself attending and was supervising. We have 2 races. They have a race of the usual horses, 2 miles, and a race 5 miles for the so-called slimmed down horses, which are fed little and they become very slim and fast. Well, it was very structured.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Well,
read about, see what the fuqaha said, how they understood it.
do some research and get back to you then, inshallah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop the stream now so we can move to Palestine update.